wasn't as good.
Yeah, so we're learning.
So now it's Starlink, it could be a hell of a lot different here too. I don't know.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, we better call this to order. And is there any additions to?
9:32?
9:32, is there any additions to the agenda?
If we don't, I know in one of the areas it does come up, but I would like to look at seeking public input for a recreation. They worded yesterday, recreation plan moving forward for the municipal reserve areas, like potentially this area, the fire lanes and Jack's Pond, basically. And just to have seeking a public input on ideas for recreation. And I know it was brought up in one of the, but I'd like specifically to discuss that.
Okay, so 7.4.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
We call, how would you,
Let's call it municipal recreation.
planning or,
Well, I'd like to get input before we get into planning, I think.
okay,
So it's not, we don't need to hire a bunch of engineers and get that involved. I think it's more, what do people think would improve their experience living
yeah,
there?
we did that a few years ago, so we.
So
We can even revise it.
Yeah.
how about recreation community opportunities and then you have
Sure.
the discussion?
Sure, I just want a discussion.
Okay. Anything else, Paul? No. Yeah. Okay, so adoption of the agenda.
As amended.
As amended. Okay, so the previous minutes. Is there anything that you folks have? I didn't have anything else. So we need a motion to adopt.
Motion.
Dan, all in favor? Yeah.
Dan moves to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll do the agenda as well.
Or minutes, sorry.
Minutes ended, I don't think you need. the agenda.
Public hearing, nothing, so delegations, so we have the Settler Public Library, Rhonda and Town Councilor Gordy.
Gordon Lawler, LAWLOR. He's known me as Gordy for 30 years.
You got it? Yeah, perfect.
I added him on.
So perhaps,
So did you want to
Oh,
do
yeah,
the
you got
presentation
them,
up
just
there
about.
or?
I'm gonna share it.
We're gonna share the presentation up here.
Perfect.
you'll have to get Gordy in a bit more. I think.
Sure, yeah.
You wanna grab a seat right here?
Or shove in.
Well, Rhonda will do the library presentation and I will do Parkland.
Perfect.
Do you want them rolling chair?
Oh, that's okay. My new year started off with fracturing a vertebrae in my back.
Uh-oh.
I'm not mobile as I used to was. There we go.
Wonderful.
And some information about e-resources that are available through the library. Press reader, which is, oh, no, these are all fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
And Erin, I saw that you had a card, so I used your card.
Oh,
And then I thought if you had lost it, I could replace it with this one.
Okay.
I think I did.
Awesome,
Thank you. Okay, it'll just take me a minute to hook it up,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to delete your old one in case. you
For sure.
were still on.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. So thank you very much for agreeing to have us present to you. We just wanted to promote, I saw that you were doing a survey. I'm interested in how that went and what kind of feedback you got. But just a little bit about how libraries strengthen communities. And so we've got the slideshow and some notes here. I guess we can just.
Can I just ask you to speak up and then?
Oh, we're okay. And I guess for the record, my name is Rhonda O'Neill. I'm the manager of the Statler Public Library, and with me is Gord Lawler, Councillor Lawler from Statler. He's on the Statler Public Library Board, and he's also on the Parkland Regional Library Board
Yes.
as the chair of the advocacy committee. So, yeah. All right, so just a little bit of background about what we're doing at the Statler Public Library. If we go to the next slide.
Oh, wrong mouse.
Yeah, you can see, you know, when people think libraries, oftentimes it's the libraries of their youth. And so we do share books, movies, games, and equipment. And that's a big portion of the business that we do. Our circulation numbers are very good. I think they're further on this slideshow. But we're also now becoming a place where people from the community can connect over shared interests. So we do programming for all different ages, from babies to seniors. We have access to and assistance using online information. With the current information landscape or informationscape, I guess. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and so libraries, we do purchase and research using reliable resources. And that's something that we could do for you too, if you ever have a need to have some information or documents, do some research. We're connected through the public library resource network to libraries all over Alberta and nationally, internationally. So very few documents we can't track down if you're interested in obtaining some of that. At the library, people can access employment supports. We have something called Cypress Resume. And then we also have a volunteer. She's on the library board. She worked with Alberta Supports for 30 years. And so she comes in and she coaches people to improve their resumes, their interview skills, and write cover letters, that sort of thing. We offer tutoring for grades K to 12, and that's particularly important with the maths because we found during the COVID pandemic, a lot of students suffered in the math, in the areas of sciences and math. As well, we do offer it in social studies and all, which is, helps some children with their reading and comprehension. So that is available at the library. And then technology support, we're seeing a lot of that. We're doing a program right now called Come for a Bite, where we received funding from municipal affairs. No, it wasn't municipal affairs, but it was the public libraries, rural skill building. But I think the money came from agriculture. I've got it. I'm not quite clear on that. Anyway, they're funding a project called Come for a Bite. We offer technology courses for seniors. So mostly it's about learning how to navigate your device, how to look for those cues so that you know what's happening as you move from phone to tablet to laptop. There are certain similarities that you can use to figure out what you need to do next. Because when they come to the library, it's because they're doing an online course for their job, but they don't know how to move the screen to the next slide, and so these are real issues that we're seeing in a lot of people in the community. So we do that, and we're helping seniors with cybersecurity as well, because there's so many scams and so many viruses, and people are just struggling to keep up with it all and know what's what and who to trust, like online, what information to protect, right? So we're also offering outreach services. We bring books and movies to the different lodges in Statler, and we bring books out to the colonies, highlight colonies in Gatsby and Erskine and White Sands. Yeah, we do White Sands colony too. And then we offer like a pickup service for the teachers at different colonies, like out to buy more and such. And that works quite well. They read a lot of books, and the teachers have observed that their reading skills are improving. It's hard sometimes to get kids to read, but with good books, you can. So we also offer services to patrons with print disabilities. We've got about 15 Daisy readers in the community, and that's when people can't hold the book or their eyes, they're visually impaired. There's special audiobooks. You might remember the old audiobooks that, if you had Ken Follett, it was 18 CDs, and so there would be a lot of shuffling and keeping track. Well, the Daisy readers, it's one book, one CD, so they put it in, they play, and it's easy to operate. We also do 3D printing, laser cutting, And we have a lifelong learning, that's one of our service responses. And then we have a program called 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, and that's children registered between 0 and 5. And for every 100 books they read, together as a family, they receive 1 book to keep. And so at 1,000 books, they have a little certificate and graduation, and they're well situated to start school. It's very important to have that foundational and bonding experience reading together, and so it kind of encourages that. Our summer reading club, every summer we offer that in Stettler, and we come out to Rochon Sands as well on Wednesday mornings to offer programming at the community hall. And that's been quite popular. I think I was surprised to see that of 948 people who participated in our activities last summer, 178 of those happened at Rochon Sands.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, there was one day that I think there were only 4 people, but usually it was 15 to 30 people showing up. And
Yeah.
that was all
And
ages.
it ran once a week. I was there during that time frame when that was going.
Is it in conjunction with the coffee meeting? Like they have a Wednesday?
No,
This is separate.
This is separate, and they just come out to the hall and then they offer different things, so there's an opportunity here.
Usually at noon that started,
Yeah,
or 10 to
I
noon,
think 10:30 or 11.
around there, yeah.
yeah,
They're just down the road, I guess, because.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe having something like that here, or at least getting the word out that, there's something over at Rochon on that, because I've never heard about that.
I think it would be nice to bring something like that here.
Yeah,
And that's like, if we could do it on Wednesday afternoons, they could
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
yeah.
They do all sorts of different crafts and sports and games. And so the whole purpose of the summer reading club is to prevent that summer slide. And so we also
Yeah.
have a reading challenge, people can come to the activities. They can participate in the reading challenge, or they can do both. It's up to them.
generally elementary school age on that, or?
Yeah, to be in generally elementary, so if you've been to kindergarten, you can register, like we say
Okay.
5 and up, but if you're 5 and you haven't been to school yet. Because
Okay,
it's a little,
Yeah, it was a nice way for the kids to come and have something different to do during the summer.
Oh, absolutely.
And we could offer something like that right here with playground and everything being right here.
absolutely. The only thing is the heat, so if there's a sheltered area, but there's the potential to mix it up and come here first and go there later,
Yeah.
because there's the community hall, and that's where then when it's hot and smoky, they're inside.
And
We
we
do.
do have a hall
Right next door.
right next door, and we can
Okay.
offer some assistance from.
Yeah, we'd absolutely be into, doing.
Now that we're
Yeah.
here, we have space.
So, yeah, last year, they read a total combined, amount of 1,144 hours, so that wasn't bad, So we've got some very strong, readers in the community. And then in town, we offer programs for all ages, so Read and Rhyme, Dungeons and Dragons with the teens has been very popular. We offer a program called Minds in Motion that is, it's a program of the Alzheimer's Society, and it's for people experiencing cognitive decline and their caregivers. And they come in, it's physical activity, a little snack and socializing, and then cognitive games. And people have formed relationships there, because it's an isolating disease, and they've been visiting one another outside the program. So it's that whole connection that we're seeing that we're very happy with. And we also recently started Al-Anon, because after COVID, there's nothing going on in town, and it was a need for that as well. Different fun things. We show movies, now that the theater shut down. We've got popcorn. People like to come to movies, so we really try to mix it up so that there's a good variety of things for all age groups. And we're always interested in listening to ideas.
Your Monday night gaming, is that board games?
The Monday night gaming was online. We've gotten a lot of interest in the board games though, so that's something that we're looking at doing. Board game, yeah. The online gaming, I think we're phasing that out now, because they're not really connecting online anymore. Very popular during COVID. So then community partnerships, we've got a lot of those going on. We did Family Day at the SRC, that'll be coming up. Children's Resource Fair, we have in May. We participate in Seniors Weeks, we create kits for the seniors, treats. Then there's the bike rodeo and Canada Day at the museum. We just all year round, there's different events that we participate in collaboration with other community partners. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we've done that the past 2 days with the Stettler area circle, friendship circle. And then Culture Days is every September, we have all these events focusing in on a specific cultural background. So we've done Estonia, the Ukraine, this year we did Swiss because Stettler. And so, yeah. The Soaring Pilot Project, this is something we did, I'm gonna, okay, I'll bring it home. So the Soaring Pilot Project,
Cool.
yeah, we built a mini golf course and it was the teens that planned it and built it and helped install it and the whole community kind of got behind it. So we're excited to see what we can get people doing together in the community.
So I had a situation with this. They collaborated with the high school to build it. And then it's like, where are we going to put it? And it's like, oh, by the rec center, well, the museum was the ideal place to put it in space. And they had the ability to, hand over the clubs, whatnot. So my grandchildren went with my son, unbeknownst to me. And the 6-year-old came to me and said, so, Bumpa, tell me about the Cook murders. Because he says, you asked your grandfather about that. Because they actually went into the museum after they played golf. So the add-on to that is that people are going to mini golfing sometimes and using the museum. Brilliant connections.
Yeah. So that was one of our projects. The next slide is Comfort Bite. I think I already talked about that one. And then other areas. We just keep on scooting. Other areas of focus, we're looking at the teen programming. We're really hoping to keep bringing more teens in. We have a young fella, Jasper, he's been doing game nights. He's got a good crowd. Then he was doing art nights, but now I think we're shifting. They want to do a special director's cut of the D&D for people who don't like big crowds, because the D&D club is now 15 plus, right? And they are going to be as well. We've got more soaring funding to do another project with the teens, similar to the mini golf, but we're not going to do that this time. They just have to tell us what they need to do. So that will be Jasper. So then if we scroll down a little bit, we've got our annual report numbers from 2023. We haven't submitted our 2024 yet, so I'm not able to give you those figures yet. But you can see our opening hours, 2,700 hours a year, 1,374. It says people have a card at our library, but that's cards that are active. So if a family comes in with 7 children, and we do have that, they're all using one card. Right? So we might consider it, but then some households, they will each have their own card. So it's hard to say how many households have cards, but that's roughly households-ish, maybe 1,000 households. 67,000 people walk through the door. Our circulation numbers are really good for a library and a community our size. 89,574 checkouts. So that's of which about 5,000 were e-content. So that's why I'm here plugging the e-content. We've got books, we've got audio books. They're great, for when you're doing chores, mowing the lawn. And what else is kind of interesting there? And we are hooked up to this vast network of libraries. So if there's something that you want that we don't have in our library, we've got this van run system run through Parkland that can bring you in.
You have, like for the 1,374 people, families, whatever that is, do you have a sense on how much of that is right within Stettler and versus how much is surrounding area, or would you be able to say like how many in White Sands have a card, for example?
There are, when we look at how many in White Sands, there's a very small number, a very small number. But then there's so many people who live in Statler that also have places out at the lake.
Right.
And then there are people that live in other communities who might have library cards in their communities, but then they can use those library.
That's what my
cards.
family has done a number of times, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a card, you can go anywhere in Alberta, you can register it through the libraries and sign up books. If you're in Red Deer or Edmonton, you can go and shop the shelves and you can return those books anywhere in the province.
That's always been a really great feature.
So I think it's about 2/3 Stettler and then 1/3 outside Stettler. Like I said, the White Sands number is low, and so we're hoping to come out and do some summer reading and maybe communicate more through your newsletter to your residents and see if we can get those numbers up, because you don't have to actually be at the library to use the library.
And this bike project, I see you're going out into the hamlets, so I'm thinking, is there a way to incorporate a session here, because we do have that age group?
Absolutely do that, because before the end of March, if there's space for us to set up, we can absolutely do that.
If we did a registration, how many sessions, because we could use this space if it's not too many and allow a couple of opportunities.
We could talk about that. We're partnering with the Stettler Adult Learning Center on that, so I'll just check her schedule, but we've got funding until the end of March, so if we do that, the funding will cover that.
What happens after March? Is it just like the new year that you're?
It's the end of the GOA fiscal year, and
Yeah.
so we're not sure if we're going to be funded for that again this year.
Because you run on the provincial funding model and the
They do.
calendar year is,
Yeah, they do, but we're on the January to December is our
Yes.
fiscal year end. So it's trying to make it all work. We started this project last April and it's been going.
Okay.
Absolutely.
If there's someone else is interested in having certain things offered for the residents.
I think it's an opportunity to look at, all the different various pieces of that. If we are continuing to be part of it, let's make a good use of it too.
Absolutely interested in working with you to make sure that we feel connected to us, because I understand like recently that we haven't been advocating so much up at the lakes. I know during COVID there was an email that was sent out, so, hey, you can still get books. But really we haven't been communicating a lot since then, so hoping to remedy that. So this last picture is it's out of the library manager's guide that's prepared by Parkland, but it just kind of gives you an idea, like your membership to Parkland flows down to the services that they provide to our library. And it also provides us with an allotment, a book allotment. It's $1.13 $13 per capita. And so we use that to buy books for the collection. But because you're paying into it, we also get additional funding from the provincial government through the Rural Library Services Grant. So, that would be, it would be a double whammy if you ever decided not to continue. And we're hoping we won't do that.
What's the percentage that matches from the government with that rural libraries grant?
It's
Yeah,
$5.60 per capita.
From the province and then,
It's a little bit rough and I don't understand it fully, but
that's based on the per capita of the partnerships you have within the.
Yes. So if a municipality decides to withdraw from Parkland as a support financially, then it also impacts that $5.60 per capita for that many people as well. So it's a double whammy.
And again, that's based on, I know we had some question about how the number was calculated, but it's based on permanent residency count. I believe.
As of 2019.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Your actual municipal census numbers, yes.
Whatever the provincial government puts as our.
It is not on a per structure basis, because you have a lot of just summer only residences. It is on the actual residences who pay taxes here.
Right.
If it went on that, you'd be doing per capita on 409 properties if they did it that way.
Yeah.
Because they do have population, it's a lot less.
I know we had a question because the number changed a lot from year to year that we were wondering, we were concerned about, but
Yeah, we're not really stable on some things. 2016 was 120, some people are using that. And then the Alberta government has us at 174.
This one was 219 or something.
No,
No,
on,
174.
74, I
That's the one
think
you're
is what we
using.
had there. I have to look at
What
that.
happened with Parkland, because it became quite a thing at Parkland Regional Library. I guess maybe I'll back up, you don't let us.
Yeah, no.
I'll try and be brief, because you know me, I get verbose. But the Parkland as an organization is driven by municipal affairs. And so Parkland has to follow their rules, and municipal affairs said, you're not going to use these population numbers anymore because we're not going to be refreshing and updating those. You're going to use the other government estimates. Well, town of Stettler went up by 400 and some odd people using those numbers. And well, we just paid the requisition. But now municipal affairs has gone back to using their numbers, which is the lower population. As you say, it's bounced around. It's like, what the heck? We're being funded on this volume, and then we're being requisitioned on this volume. Let's get it straight. And that's been a thing, but it seems to be settling itself down because municipal affairs, I'll say, has come into line. Even though, you know, we have to live by them, we can complain to them or advocate to them. But the population numbers has been addressed, and the municipal affair numbers are now the ones that are actively being used, which have been the lower numbers. So in Stettler, we actually went up using we went down using the newer numbers, that transition time. And we thought that's not gonna last. So we just kept budgeting at the higher population. And sure enough, we're back to the higher population now. But Parkland Library, when 7.5 years ago, when I first was given my assignments for council, I was given Union Negotiating Committee as one of them. And I was given Stettler Library and Parkland Regional Library. And I'll be candid, I went in and asked our mayor and our CAO, who did I piss off? Like, seriously? You know, amongst all my other responsibilities, I get these three? Because I literally had no interest in libraries as such. I used audiobooks because I traveled a lot. That's what I did. Now I'm a soloist in the choir. It's something that I truly and genuinely believe in. What our library does, under Rhoda's direction, our library is outstanding in the sense of all the things they offer that are just well beyond books. When I first saw the volumes of usage, internet usage, especially because of stable SuperNet, Parkland Regional Library does provide SuperNet via the Alberta government to every library in Alberta. So, you know, in Brownfield, at the Brownfield Library, they have the SuperNet. So people from that region, if they wanted to do anything online, download something, download a movie to watch at home, they go to the library to do it, download SuperNet, they go home, watch it where they have spotty service. When it comes to what Parkland provides, is they're an organization they're based in Lacombe. They're the oldest. They started in 1959. They're the oldest regional library system. And they provide basically, I'm going to say the machine behind the library. They're the gears, they're the wheels, they're the ones that distribute product back and forth. And I could just bowl you over with all kinds of numbers, but I don't think that's necessary in the sense that as municipal councillors, we're trying to look at every dollar we spend, make sure it's spent well, make sure it's spent defendably, make sure we get value for the dollar. And one of the things that I realized as the advocacy chair, I think I was in the bathroom when they decided who was going to be chair, because it's been 6 years they've had an advocacy committee and I've been the chair for 6 years, and I must be in the bathroom a lot. Because I continue to sit in the chair, but I think it's because I genuinely believe in what libraries have to offer. And I've left, I will leave with your staff here, the return on investment numbers for the town of Stettler, for the county of Stettler, and for the summer village of White Sands. In the sense of every dollar that we invest as municipal councillors into it, what is the return on investment? And the return on investment is, and I made sure when they started doing this a few years ago, that it wasn't just pie in the sky numbers. Oh yeah. No, I'm just a basic guy. I want to be able to defend the numbers in the sense of what is it being done. So for example, computers. This particular year, only $2,549.97 was spent on computers in the Stettler Library. It's because Parkland provides computers to all of the libraries in their region, 63 municipalities, 44 libraries. And this year just happens to be a year where they just didn't have to do as much of an update. Software and licensing, so for all of the various different programs and items that have to be subscribed to, 12,003. The SuperNet connection, 10,002. When it comes to the allotments for the various different, the summer villages, the allotments was 255. The materials allotment is 6,548. The town of Stettler, for every dollar invested, has a $23.79 return on investment in the sense of what's offered for support services. If we opted not to fund Parkland Region Library and just fund our library specifically directly, then we would lose access to all of those savings in the sense of volume. Like they get 35 to 45% off of their book purchases, and that comes to us. When my wife wants to order a book, she calls the library, says, I need this book, this author. Within 2 weeks, it's in our library. And it could be from anywhere in the province, because all of the regional libraries, or 7 regional library systems, they all collaborate together and they share materials between each other. So it's not even just 63 municipalities support, it's the entire province. So when Rhonda said, if you're looking for something, we can get it. It's real. The thing about Parkland is that if we as a municipality choose not to fund Parkland, then that $5.60 per capita gets impacted as well. So from the standpoint of is a library requisition a number that should stay on our books for the challenges we face to make everything work? I say yes. And the reason I say that is because I have the 7.5 years doing it. If you were to ask me that question 7.5 years ago when I first got my assignment, sat down for my first couple of meetings, I wouldn't have a right answer. But 7.5 years ago, the dollars were flowing a lot differently as well. Today, they're a heck of a lot tighter. We're trying to make everything stretch as far as possible. And so when it comes to Stettler Public Library, for me, it was mind-blowing to learn all the things they did that even outside the walls. And during COVID, which was, I don't want to look back over my shoulder, but during COVID, they were so creative. Our MLA, Nate Horner, actually was blown away when we were showing him during COVID what the library was doing for outreach services, for curbside services, for cleaning the books when they got them back. It was outstanding. And there's so many programs that got started that when COVID basically had evaporated or began to end, they just kept doing them. And I think we find ourselves in the same boat ourselves. Services as a municipality provided for the pandemic, some of them just became a way of life. Zoom meetings became a way of life. Because I had an opportunity to anything. I've seen them on SDA, the Ambulance Authority, for a number of meetings, but through a screen. So that's basically the library presentation. Is there any questions that you have for the Rhonda or yourself?
Well, I don't have any, except I really appreciate you coming out because the understanding of what is available for the village is a big deal. And I think probably the reason it was brought up in the first place is because we're on budget too, same municipality, right? And our requisition for the library went from 1,200 to 1,700 or whatever. And the usage
It's difficult to gauge.
It is.
Mhm.
And the survey we put out was not, they didn't have to sign their name to it or anything else, and it could have been repeated by whoever because it was just flooded. But that doesn't really matter now. What matters now is what your presentation made today, as far as I'm concerned, is something that is very valuable, and also we can have your help with some programming out here if we need.
Providing more opportunities to the residents out here during the seasonal busy
Yeah,
time.
just during the summer, because it's a lot, especially for the children, it's a lot better for them to be owner occupied other than and any of the Hall Society functions that go on during the summer is very appreciated by the family and especially the kids. So it would be another addition just to make the place special.
One of the things we learned, Parkland Regional Library, from the standpoint of their budget approval, when they put their budget out to the 63 municipalities, there has to be 66% of the municipalities have to approve. They have to be representing 66% of the population in that whole region as well. And we've gone from about 5 years ago having a number of conversations with municipalities. Like, where's the value for a dollar? And that's where the advocacy committee came into play. When it comes to the approval rate at this particular point, it's very, very high. We're blessed by that. But we're blessed by that because of advocacy, of having conversations. We've been remiss by not meeting with White Sands and Ocean Sands, in the sense that our library is right there. But you can't know what you don't know. And when the survey went out, it did press a button. It's like, wait a second, I'm studying a survey to see who uses the library. All right, we've got work to do, obviously. But that's the thing. Like 7.5 years ago, I went, why me? And I'm here because I want to be.
So in summary, or just as a highlight points, right now, there's very few people in the community that have a library card,
An active library card.
an active, so that's one measurement.
Yes.
And there's very little previous activities in the past 4 or 5 years that were conducted out here. So when we looked at that, we went, well, if somebody needs a library card and wants to use a book, well, a lot of our residents come from elsewhere, and if they're library card holders or they use libraries, they typically have their own. And so we looked at that and said, we don't know who's using the service, and and it's a financial something we have to look at. And then it did go up about 50% based on the numbers mostly, but so that was how we measured it. And I think that's the information we have to make decisions, is that it wasn't used a whole lot. We appreciate you coming and educating us on all the opportunities to move forward potentially. Question I have is, if we have residents in White Sands that do not, if we make the decision to not, move forward with this, what is the impact to them? Can they still get a library card? Can they still use the services? What's the impact to them? Because we don't want to impact our residents that use the library system.
Right. In terms of the impact to an individual resident, they would be able to get a library card as a non-resident for $60 annually, or if they came from a community where they had a public library card, such as Edmonton or Calgary, they could sign up for new libraries and use the e-collections of their home libraries, but they could come to our library to sign up DVDs and books and things like that. The thing is that libraries are there just more for the community as a whole. So your support means that people who can't afford library cards, and that's throughout the region, all of our people have access to computers and printers. And oftentimes people from the lakes will come to the library to print off some documents that they have to do something with. So it's supporting those services for all people. And my fear is that, when the dominoes start toppling, then they topple for everyone, right?
And then the impact through municipal affairs in your per capita, and then municipal affairs, at what point will they want to have a conversation, right?
The thing about municipal affairs is that I've had a number of conversations with Minister McIver over the years. And we hadn't had, at Parkland, a funding increase since 2017. And there was a 5% funding increase last year, which impacted the requisition. It brought it down from where it was going to go. But up to that stage, Minister McIver's response was, he didn't get a haircut. Because libraries overall is like 1.1% of municipal affairs budget. So we're kind of like hidden in the corner. So if this organization got a funding cut, they didn't necessarily notice that libraries didn't, because we're so little in the broad scope. But I think it's fair to say that no one will be turned away at the library. One of the conversations that happened a few years ago was, I don't know how many years ago, that book fines, late book fines were deleted, just canceled. And Councillor Campbell at the time was like, you want more money and now you're not gonna find people who are not bringing your books back? Like, what the heck? And that's not how Ella would speak, but he was pretty vocal about it. The reality was, after the fact, is people like me who are late with their library book will put $5 in the pot or $10 in the pot, depending on how many books and how long, because I'm feeling guilty. The mom with 4 kids that didn't want to come to the library because she owed $3.50 in fines and who was embarrassed that she didn't have it, can go to the library. We end up bringing in more fine revenue by not having fines. Go figure. Who knew? That was not something that could be predicted. But the reality is that libraries are available for everyone. If you choose not to fund the libraries, people from White Sands will not be turned away. They will just simply have to pay $60 a year. So, if you do the math, that's cheaper.
It is.
Right? But, and somebody who's coming to the lake typically is well heeled enough that they can afford the $60. But the reality of it is that libraries, nobody can turn away. It's a safe space for everyone. Any more questions?
I think it's pretty well covered,
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
thanks for coming out, for sure.
Yeah, you betcha. And Rhonda will be in touch with when it comes to raising
Yes, now
programs.
that we're here, I think we need to have these conversations more and pull some things out here.
I'll leave this with you. There's 2 pages. Town Center, County Center, and coming out.
Thank you.
My friend over at the Learning Center.
Yes, yeah, and anytime you guys wanna pop out here and have other conversations, we're here Monday through Thursday, so this is where the communication can really open up.
So thank you so much. It was a treat, always.
Great to see you all.
Especially to come and see your new space. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Gord.
Great.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Officially.
Great to have a town personnel here now.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your evening. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
See you.
10:15, yeah.
Okay, so,
Motion to accept the delegation presentation and information.
yep,
As information or as presented?
I'll make that motion. As
Presented.
Presented, okay.
Okay, so we're moving on to 6, the bylaw and policies. So we have the golf cart pilot project. Before we get into it, I would like to say that to the public especially, council itself is not making all the rules. The documentation came down last June, the legislation for a 5-year project for golf carts in municipalities.
Yeah, till 2029.
Till 2029. And the thing with the document that came down from the government was very specific on certain things. So anybody that thinks that the Council of White Sands made up the rules, it's absolutely not true. We have followed all the documentation that the government handed down, and there's some flexible parts in there, but for the most part, that's how it's been made.
They're mandatory requirements.
They're mandatory, yeah.
Everything in this bylaw is mandatorily based off their legislation, their basic idea of what the bylaw should have been looked like. We looked at their templates, conversations have been had with them, insurance, RCMP. we have legal, we have reviewed this through all the different channels to try and make sure we're on par. Hard to compare with other municipalities because everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah, and you also, just another item that should be mentioned is that if you have a registered golf cart with the municipality in White Sands and you try and venture over to Roshan Sands, you can't do that unless you have registration from
That.
Roshan Sands. And right now, the county of Stettler, the municipality in between the two of us, haven't started anything on there,
So specific to our community.
Yes, which I have provided in your guys' report,
Right.
that municipal golf cart pilot project bylaw jurisdiction. So the golf carts within the summer village boundaries, if they adhere to the municipality's rules as outlined in the pilot bylaw, this likely includes specific safety standards, speed limits,
Yeah.
registration, so the bylaw is for this community.
Yeah, so I just wanted to overview that for the public.
And I think just to clarify again, so if somebody did have a permit from, say, Roshan Sands and White Sands, as it stands right now, they can't legally drive between the two of them because it's only for 30 km/h speed limit roads, and there's a.
Until the county, if the county decides to put one in, then their jurisdiction, you'll have to apply to their jurisdiction and follow their rules and their permit rules.
I wonder, like, we're certainly not at that point right now, but I wonder if at some point down the road, if there could be a multi-jurisdiction permit possibility.
You know what, after this pilot project and the government collects the data that we have to submit to them monthly, and it will end up falling under the province, and we won't have this anymore because the province will put it just like they do in UTV.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, it's meant to be.
That is several steps ahead.
And
That's right.
the county roads are 60 kilometers. This is not allowed in this.
Yes, so they would have to, like, for, in the example of
Yeah,
Roshan,
yeah.
right, since they have to lower that to 30
They'd have to
between.
change.
Okay.
County would have to do
Fairly short.
something.
This is meant just for.
Yeah,
I don't know, Melissa, if the public's gonna be able to hear you if you're not speaking into the.
I've got quite a loud voice usually.
Well,
So,
I'm sure I'll get feedback.
but it is in the report, and I did cover off within the summer village, if you're leaving the summer village, then you would be in another jurisdiction, you'd be violating their jurisdiction. Entering the summer village, you must comply with our bylaw.
Okay,
So I
so
did-
I was wondering, Melissa, like I just did that for
Mhm.
pre-introduction. So what we should probably do is have you run through the
Okay.
whole thing. You know,
Highlights.
highlights,
I can do that.
speak into the mic.
I will speak much louder. Can you hear me out there?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, so I did the revised draft as you guys with some of the recommendations. A couple of points we, after further conversations and investigations, section 7, we have figured out that putting the permit fee in the bylaws, that the specific bylaw itself makes it more complicated when it comes to budget time. Because then you're gonna be pulling so many bylaws to try and amend, where if we keep it in the fees for service, then it's clearly, you can review it every annual year and it's one bylaw. So that was the one thing that we found. As part of the pilot project, it was noted that the municipality must meet certain requirements through the legislative pilot project, and a fee is applied by the municipality. That's in the legislation. After further review, only 2 municipalities had a fee listed as follows, like, none of these are approved yet through the minister, just so you're aware. But one was at 60, which was Lacombe, and another one we found was 100. So we said fee amount should consider administrative time to process, monitor, reporting to the provincial government, monthly signage, installation, enforcement, court costs, etc. Because those are all things that we don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah, and that too, Melissa, can you explain 9C? That was brought up by the RCMP.
Oh, 9C, the towing.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna walk through those points after I just
Okay.
kind of do the summary here. There's no guarantee that the fees collected from the golf cart registration permits or other related costs will stay with the municipality after the pilot project ends. So we don't have any answers on this. We just know we're allowed to go to 2029. The fees could potentially fall back to the province or be handled differently depending on the outcomes of the pilot project and future decisions made by either the municipality or provincial government or the advocacies that happen. So when I reviewed OHV provincial requirements, which is part of the transportation bylaw, off-highway vehicles pay around $55 for registration. And then their insurance can range anywhere from $50 to $250 per month, or at an annual cost between $600 to $3,000. It all depends on what a person puts on their insurance, right? And what they're requesting. So that's huge. That's OHV, and OHV is under the transportation bylaw. Golf cart requirements proposed by the bylaw, we have minimum coverage, comprehensive personal liability coverage of 2 million is typically the minimum required for a golf cart under a homeowner's insurance policy. Cost estimates, the cost of adding a golf cart coverage to a homeowner's policy generally ranges from $40 to $80 annually. But this can vary based on factors like individual property insurance, depending on the type and extent of homeowner's insurance. Cost of adding a golf cart coverage can change. Collision coverage, if they opt for having that on it. Like there's a lot of factors that I can't predict, depends on the homeowners, what they decide they want to do. These costs are rough estimates and the actual amount can vary based on factors such as the insurer region. Golf cart is used on public roads or within a private. Then we found the jurisdictions of the bylaw. So I clearly laid out this bylaw is only within our boundaries. And what we're doing is we're allowing golf carts on our roadways. And the guidelines to operate on our roadways. Golf carts that leave the summer village will be having to make sure they understand the neighboring area and not have a similar pilot project bylaw or regulations in place for golf carts, then the driver would be violating the law in that jurisdiction. So if you exit the municipality, you're now in the county, that's a separate jurisdiction. So you need to follow their rules if they have them, or you don't know, or you get a fine. I can't, that's a person's choice. If they're entering the summer village from another municipality, they would have to comply with our bylaw. That would mean the golf cart needs to be registered with the municipality and likely meet all other requirements set out by the bylaw. So they would have to register in here to be able to be in here. Key points to note, registration and compliance. Golf carts within the summer village must be registered and follow local laws. This includes registration if they enter from another jurisdiction. Drivers of golf carts must be aware of the boundaries and follow local laws for each municipality they enter. Safety and legal compliance. The pilot bylaw will ensure that golf carts meet safety and legal requirements within the summer village with penalties for non-compliance when moving outside these boundaries. Municipal insurance and legal review, we completed jointly with Roshan Sands, so we worked together on this. So we got a response from RMA, our insurance, and their responses were the summer village is being quite prudent with your bylaw and certainly appreciate the 2 million liability insurance requirements. So they felt that was adequate. Have your legal representative review the bylaw and regulations to ensure legal compliance if you haven't already done so. Have a program in place to document issues as they arise and corrective action, which we have to do because we have to do the reporting to the province. This will help inform the Alberta government of success failures of the pilot and identify areas of risk, which is what they're seeking in this pilot. Ensure adequate signage on roadways and roadways are in good condition, maintenance plans in place, which is what we're going to be talking about through budget. And we made sure we put in additional signage because we want to make sure that we meet the requirements. More is better than not enough. The Alberta guidelines does a good job of indicating this and other risk management advice such as parking. So that's all in the process of it. Finally, as this progresses, we'd be very interested in your feedback on the pilot program, as we're also working with other municipalities that are undergoing the pilot. It's also good to be able to share experiences and work together whenever we can. So I think for us, all this data we collect that we have to submit to the province, I would like to submit to our insurance company too. So they're in line with what's going on. Legal response, when the owner comes in to register the golf cart, there should be some type of acknowledgement, which we have to have the registration form. They will have to sign it off. They will have the required insurance amount in place, and we'll keep the insurance in place. We will actually be wanting a copy to keep with the file. They will take precautions to ensure the golf cart is operated in accordance with the rules of the road, and that the operators meet the minimum age requirements. So that's again enforcement. Also includes something about they are inherited risks and they are assuming those risks. To me, this is very much implied in the bylaw when they reviewed it, so that was good. Adding that the permit that Summer Village recommends each operator read the bylaw. We definitely are putting that in the application. That they will have to check off that they have read the bylaw. The onus is on them to make sure that they've done their due diligence. Make 100% sure that they are clear at all entrances to the Summer Village. And that's what we were trying to make sure to cover in the bylaw. So for the bylaw to come into effect, the council must pass the initial 2 readings of the bylaw before submitting it to the minister for approval. Once the bylaw is approved and signed by the minister, then it will return to the council for the 3rd and final reading and any adjustments if the minister requires. But we've had conversations with transportation and they're quite happy with how the role we've gone.
You said that they haven't actually approved any municipalities yet, even some that are quite a bit further ahead of us, though. I'm curious.
Yeah,
on
they
that.
may be further ahead, but the approvals haven't come through yet.
Yeah.
Yes, so Lacombe County has a bylaw, but their approvals haven't come through yet.
Okay.
Yes, so it's been an interesting learning curve for us, so we were trying to make sure, okay, we took Lacomb's, then we started working with that, and then we tweaked, and then we've talked with transportation, we've had legal, we've had RMA, and we've tightened and tightened.
Okay.
Yeah. So when that gets returned, you'll do your 3rd and final reading with any changes that the minister requests, which I don't think we're gonna have any. We've been pretty thorough on this. If the bylaw successfully passes the 3rd reading, it will come into effect in accordance with section 14 of the bylaw, which we'll walk through, because there are certain steps that have to be in place. So for budget, cost and source of funding, so there would be budget considerations due to the need to have signage within the municipality. Originally, when we first sought out the quote, it was a little cheaper. As of January 1st, of course, the cost went up. So 12 share the road signs, 12 golf cart symbols, 7 crossing signs would cost the municipality approximately $1,500, maybe a tiny bit more or less, and must be installed before the bylaw is in effect. Placement of the signs are attached on the map in the draft bylaw provided. So what we're looking from you guys, and I'll walk through the green changes that we did, is that we would like 1st and 2nd reading, so we could get the application and the bylaw off to the minister. And that council motion to have an administration revise the fees and service bylaw to include golf cart registration fee at the amount of $80. And this is in conjunction with Roshan is feeling the same. So their council they felt the same ideas. That's been what they've been discussing.
So they're selecting the same fees, same insurance requirements.
Yeah,
Our bylaws are mere bylaws.
Okay.
yeah, and the
And then-
insurance came from the province.
And then the fee they considered because of, we have limited staff. And this is going to take up staff administration time just to be able to keep up with what is required by the
And
province.
it's an annual fee
Yes,
as well.
yes. So in the bylaw, one of the things that, through all the consultations and stuff with the ministers and, or transportation and the RCMP. So we made sure, and you guys, that under definitions, 3D, designated highways means a roadway or highway authorized for golf cart operations as identified by Summer Village and approved by the registrar. We made sure it's the roadways. That's what we're allowing it to be. The next point that was a little bit more clarification that we got from the minute, our transportation was we need to put in regulation. So we added in L. Regulation means the pilot project golf carts regulation, which establishes a 5-year pilot project to evaluate the use of golf carts on select highways within participating municipalities whose councils pass bylaws to authorize golf cart use on designated highways and that are approved by the Register of Motor Vehicle Services. Regulation may be updated from time to time and is available on the Alberta government website or the Summer Village of White Sands website. So that there's clear direction of where to go and look at this law. They wanted us that it would be a good idea to have that in.
Melissa, I just had a question on the first one on D, designated highway. Is that good enough or should it be registered like the roads we have here in the village are actually highways?
All of your roads, other than anything you haven't registered, like the boat launch is on municipal reserve. That's not considered a designated highway. According to the way their legislation has come out, they're saying you're allowed on registered roadways.
Roadways, okay.
Yes, which is what they consider as a designated highway because they are registered with transportation. So Buffalo Road, Front Street, all those roads are actually registered and on titles.
So then designated is good enough,
Yes,
okay.
I had a question on D as well. So the 14 years old, that is what a class 7 is, a learner's permit. So they have to have at least a learner's permit and they go together because you can't get a learner's permit without being 14.
that goes under 4, which is what you guys had, and
Yep.
we hummed and hawed on this one, but transportation said better to be safe than
Put 'em both.
sorry.
Yeah.
So we did D on a designated highway if they're less than 14 years old, and E without being the holder of a class 1 to class 7 valid operator's license on a designated highway pursuant to the act. It covers it all.
So then, when someone comes to register their golf cart, it would be the 14-year-old's guardian that registers?
The owner of the
Owner.
golf
The
cart.
owner, yeah.
And that owner would have to abide by these policies and anyone that they
And
allow.
if
If they
they
allow.
don't abide by these policies, there is a, down in the bylaw, you are liable.
Okay.
It's the same like with your vehicle, if you allow your 8-year-old kid to drive your vehicle, you're responsible.
Yeah, I just was mentioning that to make sure the public knows.
Yeah, and I can find that in here. So we also added, because of the RCMP, and he was right, J, to tow vehicles, equipment, or this had to be added in there, 'cause it's part of legislation. To tow vehicles, equipment, or any person using any type of equipment on a designated highway. Golf carts cannot tow. It's very clearly laid out in the legislation. UTVs can tow, golf carts can't.
5D, that's cumbersome, I don't know if it's. I
5D yield, this is from their
Yeah,
bylaw.
but if you read that are approaching so close to present a hazard, I understand what it's saying, I'm not sure other people would. If you read it, yield the right of way to all pedestrians that are approaching so close as to present a hazard. So if you're coming close,
You can buzz them, but.
I think you need a comma in there or something, it's like you shall buzz them. you know.
Well, I wish that was, but if there's transportation's
That's
draft
their words.
version, that's their words.
Yeah, it just needs a, I think it's
Yeah.
a comma or something, it
Where would you put
just,
the commas?
I don't know, it just sounds like, you know.
I think that I interpret it as if you're coming up onto a pedestrian and they haven't
You need to
noticed
yield them.
you need
Yeah.
to yield and make sure you give them room.
Before,
Especially if they're close, if you're.
I feel like that's a courtesy.
if you
thing.
hit them, that's too close.
Yeah, that's close. Anyway, it was just, it struck me as a weird way to write it, but okay, it's their words and
We're not
Sure.
so perfect either, but we
I'm
try
sure they had
to.
enough bureaucrats looking at it, so,
And then F is the one that we added in, ensure the golf cart is operated in accordance with the rules of the road unless specified in the regulation. Golf carts are subject to all rules, terms and conditions as if they were a motor vehicle, must be operated as such.
so stop signs, yield signs, all
Yes,
speed limits.
you betcha.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if you go down to 7. So this is where the permits come in based on the legislative requirements. Council hereby authorizes the CAO to issue permits, attach conditions, and to charge a fee to regulate and control of golf carts within the Summer Village. Permits at a minimum shall include, and these are all the things that will be in the registration form. So the liability, the proof of it, make, model, serial number of golf cart, conditions and responsibilities of golf cart operators and owners, and any other information as required by the register. So that's where that comes in. Permits shall only be valid from January 1st to December 31st of any one calendar year. So will have to be redone every year for 5 years. Permit fees are identified in the fees for service bylaw, and permits issued will include a numbered registration placard which must be affixed to the golf cart in clear legible location designated in the permit that is visible from a distance of 10 meters.
Do we know, have we determined what that will be at? Is that something that'll be screwed on or a sticker or?
We don't wanna, because this is a 5-year project, we're trying to figure out how much do we wanna take of the budget to invest in and accumulate large amount of product that may not stick around, right? So between conversations as the CAOs, between the two municipalities, we've kind of come up with a plan that is a little cost effective and it would be easy to operate. They would be easy to attach to your golf cart. So we were gonna take bright colored paper. And your permit number is going to be on the full size of this sheet. And we're gonna laminate them. And then you are responsible as the owner to make sure it's affixed visibly where it can be seen. And if something happens and they require a replacement, we will make sure that we have like a $10 fee to cover something else.
And they'll be individually numbered, so you can't
Yes,
flip them, so it's,
and the color will change every year.
Being that large, 8.5 by 11, I'm a little concerned that there might not be a lot of spaces on the golf cart where you could do that, other than maybe on the windscreen, and then you'd be blocking a lot
You
of
could
the
put it
view.
right on the front, it says must be able to be seen 10
Yeah.
meters away. If you wanna put it on the very front of your rounded golf cart, this will be flexible
Okay.
enough that you could tape it on and you would see it.
Okay, but that's like even bigger than a vehicle license plate, and that.
When we
doesn't
used to
need
do.
Be bigger than a vehicle license plate.
Yeah, but when we used to do golf, what do I wanna say, golf tournaments. We would do this and put our logos on and the tournament was sponsored by, and it was no issue.
All this has is the numbers though, right?
That's right. It'll have our Summer Village of White Sands, cause we wanna be clear. Needs to have the municipality's logo
Name.
on it, or name, and the number.
Yeah, and I get what Paul's saying as well. Because sometimes it may, if it's, let's say someone puts it and it's hanging from the canopy, it could impede. I guess that's up to them,
It's up
but
to them.
if it was half the size, it wouldn't be so.
Just thinking about it, if
They can hang,
if they had White Sands and a Roshan Sands and somewhere else.
I'm only looking after our municipality.
Well,
That's like,
I think
I think there'll be learnings that we can modify as we go.
you can
as
get
well.
by with probably half that size and you'd probably be sufficient,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what I would probably
Yeah.
suggest.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned when they say 10 meters.
10 meters, I mean, yeah, there's 10 meters, I can almost read that quick back sign, you know.
You can, I can,
Well, but all you're looking at is a number and a logo.
yes,
So it's not the fine print, you're just looking at,
yes.
do they have, and literally, if you see the colored, you know, thing, you
Yeah.
know that if a police officer, peace officer stops them, they're gonna record that number anyway. I understand why, you know, you don't want it tiny, but I seriously think that if you took that half page, it'd probably be fine.
Yeah. And We could do
Just to-
stickers, we could do those ones like you do
Yeah.
for oil change thing, it's just, that's a more cost and as we don't know, this is gonna be our first run at this.
Yeah.
Let's take it one step at a time.
And they never said anything about placement in the legislation either, so it's like in a car, we got license plates at the back. If this goes on the front of the golf cart and someone's monkeying around just about hit somebody, someone's looking at the golf cart driving away, they're not gonna see that if it's on the front.
Or it could be hung on the back part, depending on, each golf cart's different, I
Yeah.
don't know
So
right now.
we haven't designated where it needs to be. hung.
No.
It just has to be affixed and visible from 10 meters.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many permits somebody wants to get in every other municipality, I'm not thinking about that, I'm thinking about our community.
And we have printers and laminators here, so we can do it in-house, we can add whatever numbers.
Yes, and it's much more efficient and it won't have
And the number
additional
is the
costs.
main part, is big.
Big,
Number and our logo,
our logo, so that they know it's our
and
municipality.
maybe a year or something.
You could do like 25,001 or 01 or.
Nice thing is if once we get all this in play, and it'll say 2025. And then next year we'll say 2026.
Might even be part of the number that Karen says.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
And if they're impounded or towed coming to 9C,
yes.
where does that get impounded and towed to? I guess that's up to the police.
That's up to the police, I'm not getting involved.
Oh, okay. So if they wanna haul it to Stettler, they haul it to Stettler, that's their, if they feel it's strong enough of a case to impound it, then they deal with the impounding. All we're saying here is it's your responsibility
Yeah.
to pay and get it out of impound.
Yes,
We
and
don't have to impound anything. This is this.
we're not taking any onus on this, this is clarifying to the people that if you are caught.
By a peace officer.
Or, well, whoever's enforcing it, you are caught and it gets towed, onus is on you.
Yep,
Which is probably the way it is right now.
it is.
Yeah,
If somebody's driving a golf cart right now, the police could impound it if they see that.
that's how it is, that's how it is for a vehicle. If you
Yeah.
get stopped and you don't have a driver's license or you don't have vehicle registration, they can tell you, we're towing it and you pay for all the costs.
Mhm.
On top of the penalties you will get in fines for not having those things.
Right.
So,
I think it's well written.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, and if
Covered
it's,
off on
and if
this.
it's signed off by the minister, then we know we're on the right track. And
yes,
certainly Melissa is right in saying that after the 5 years is up, it just might turn into a license plate deal from the province.
I think that's where it'll
And
probably go.
I can't see anybody canceling this after it gets after the 5 years, but anyway, I guess that's up to the government.
This, I think the government is doing this because there have been, this has been pushed in advocacy
Oh,
by
yeah.
municipalities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think this is their way of, okay, you guys track it, you provide us the information, and then we will decide how to amend the act.
Numbers.
Yeah,
Based on all the feedback.
Summer Village Association of Alberta has been pushing it for years and years.
So
Yes,
I'm all happy with everything as well. I'm just thinking of ways that, people could try to cheat the system. And one could be, they go to the Stettler Regional Library Printing Services and print off their own 2025-001 with the White Sands. Under the violation tags, there's nothing here about, you know, if somebody, like,
Fraudulent?
if somebody fraudulently prints their own, or if two neighbors swap, you know, a placard back and forth and just, well, tape it on yours. Now, obviously, that's not following the law because you don't register, but there's no offenses listed for that. But I'm guessing that might be covered somewhere else if somebody were to do something like that.
Well.
I just wouldn't want to see a CMP officer pull somebody over and they're using their neighbor's one and there's nothing on here that they can find for that.
It would go back to the ATS, which I'm looking
Okay,
at.
so there'd be provision that they could cover.
Improperly registered and licensed and
Yeah.
insured.
So if they produce something that's falsified, like if you really look at it, and then they call us, the RCMP calls and double checks with us, because we'll have the registration and we're gonna keep them in contact of who's registered. And if they find something is off, wouldn't that be failed to produce documents for inspection, or
Could-
like there's a
Could be.
couple of things they could use in here that could turn around and say, hey, failure to display a registration placard that's real,
Can we
that's
put,
$250.
can we put in their failure to display valid registration placard? Wouldn't that cover it? Because they could
Yeah.
display something, but if you put the word valid in, it's not valid because it doesn't have the, you know, it's somebody else's or it's a fake one. So if you put the word valid in
I
there
like that.
So maybe 7D should, 7D.
and the bylaws section.
Both the bylaw here in the penalties, violation tag and ticket should say valid
Yeah.
Yeah,
registration.
I think if you put valid, then that
So when you do your first reading, you can do first reading of this bylaw. Okay, as presented.
with
Then
amendments.
when you do the second with the amendment in these two sections of 7D Schedule A. To add valid,
Okay,
and then that gets it ready, so we just make the change, you've already got it in the resolution, and then you are. That's
Okay.
what the nice thing about first reading is adopting and starting something, second is amendments, third is final.
okay.
The other thing is, I was just thinking, when you produce the document for the people, you could always use our village seal.
Yes.
Sign either you or Aaron sign
Yeah, into
There.
the seal.
There's lots of
There's
ways.
ways,
we can
before you
do it.
laminate it, and then
Yeah,
they're not gonna reproduce anything.
we could put the seal right in it, and before we laminate it, we'll seal it.
Yeah,
That'd be something to test to see if you can do it when it's laminated.
or you prep.
No, we'd wanna do it prior to lamination, because guess what, trying to scan something like that, it doesn't,
Yeah.
that won't show up.
And that might be more than we need to do, but I just like the idea of,
Put that in
I
there.
think that's the process that we're gonna continue working on, it's just getting to
Yeah.
bylaw.
Yeah.
And then we have to work on the registration form, and I'm collaborating with the CAO promotion, and we're matching everything, and we're gonna have it all in line the same.
yeah. I think if there's gonna be any game playing, it's probably not gonna be fraudulent like that, but it might just be somebody swapping it, if they got two golf carts, swapping it back and forth, which, you know, if we have the valid registration, then that covers that.
2000 and not 2020.
Yeah,
But they have to provide, as part of the registration form, they'll have to provide serial numbers, they'll
Well,
have to.
So then
Yeah.
you could cross-reference.
right,
Exactly.
yeah, you can cross reference, so I don't think the sealing, the certification sealing is necessary,
But
but
maybe just a signature.
Yeah, I can sign either
And
one,
without
all of
sealing,
them, or we have an
because
authorization stamp.
Obviously, Aaron wants to make a pile
Will it be easier
of, yeah.
and not a huge? When someone comes in, they don't wanna spend like 20 minutes waiting for me for the laminator to warm up and then print and like all that stuff. People wanna be in and out.
So if they're just initialed or signed,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
would do it.
Yeah.
And make
But
it,
I do like the idea of the seal over my signature.
okay.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, we can have that all prepared and ready, and we can have certain, we'll review lots of different little, there's options out there nowadays.
Yeah,
I think the rest of it looks good. So do we,
I was gonna ask one question, and I think it's in here somewhere, but, so. person to drive around would have to have a valid license and be 14 years of age.
It's both, so you must be
Right.
of the age of 14 and you must have a valid either class 1 to class 7. If you don't have if you're 14 and you don't have a valid class 1 to 7, you're not fulfilling your obligation in the
Right,
legislature.
so we have people that come here from Texas.
Mhm.
So if they had some kind of driver's permit, that would still be okay.
Yes,
Yes, because
The other
it's,
the
as
other
long as
jurisdiction.
it's got that stamp on
Valid
it and says it's
operators.
valid operator's license, I don't care where you got it from,
Okay.
but it must have the current year. Like it must tell that it's valid. Yeah,
Wait.
people have driver's licenses from tons of places, but is it valid?
Do we need any signage? Did you get any feedback or from transportation that you are now leaving a designated area? Or do we need any exit signs that say, okay, you know, you can't have carts past this point? Or is that just assumed that it's in the village? Do we need to say, hey, you're leaving the area?
It all depends on how much you wanna educate the people out of there, then we're gonna make them read the bylaw.
Well, there's only two spots, right?
Yeah,
Water station and.
once you
boat
get
launch.
past that water station, you know, the gate's there.
yeah, there's the map that's
So we don't-
attached to the bylaw, and then there's a sign that says 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
You
have,
know that you're not allowed to operate there.
yeah, that, I'm
Honestly-
not saying we need more signs, because there's a lot of signs.
Yeah, I did lots of signage to make sure we covered the best we could. The nice thing is, when we do their next bylaw, we're gonna use the same things and we're gonna add the other signage to the same poles. Cause it'll fit.
No, I'm good with it.
I think if anything, then that's the discussion during budget time is, do we make better your entering the summer village and White Sand signs? So that we're more noticeable than what we have when I first come in. But that's a discussion during budget.
Okay, only other question I've got on it, sorry, Luke, you had another question? No, okay. Last time we met, when, the map of the one, were we going to remove the red on it and just have the green? Do we discuss that?
We did ask for that.
You did. And we did what we could, we took the boat launch and we made it green because that is actually not a roadway, it's municipal reserve, so we kind of left it there. I left the red on those beach trails is because they are not roadways. Roadways are green.
So you're gonna get the question, I can go on the road, but I can't use the beach access?
That is right, because they are not designated roads based on,
So can they get
Yeah.
a fine for going down the beach access?
actually, they can.
Even before that. Before this bylaw, they can, cause it's.
Yeah,
In your MR.
it's it's municipal reserve, and then if they go
You know,
past that, it's public
you
land.
have to also realize that,
You're allowing them to be operated like a vehicle.
yeah, so it would be the same, then they can't come to the dumpsters. That's not registered highway. And neither is coming to
So
park at the hall.
Can we say as White Sands that we will permit golf carts
Designated
on?
areas, can we designate areas or not?
I think what we need to do is look at that in a separate situation of how you're treating your municipal reserves.
Yeah, and the
Yes.
MGA specifically says that there is roads allowed. Reserve.
Right,
But to put it into this legislature, into these rules, it would,
it complicates it because
Yeah.
this is the pilot and we wanna make sure. And we've got parking spots, we've got parking areas right along Lakeview. We've got parking lots, we've got all that. It's,
But I
they said
think-
roadways,
I think
designated
getting rid
roadways.
of them reds seems like a good idea.
Which kind of leaves it as a gray area still, but
Because the part of the reason they wanted golf carts, the summer villages, is to take their toys to the beach. And taking their toys and dropping off their paddle boards and all of that does mean going down the beach access, and that's why they're that wide.
And lots of people park down there because they can't walk down there.
But that is where we need to deal with that in a separate thing.
So
But-
if we put it in here, it'll complicate it, then the province could reject it.
Okay.
That's right.
So we need to deal with this as that, but I'd still like to see the red gone.
Yeah, so we don't have to make it green, but we can just leave it off.
And then we
Okay.
can do it under separate down the road of
Yes.
saying, we also allow it on these areas,
On
which
these.
are our areas, not highways.
And we could say
So
on
I
specific beach accesses, like the
Yeah.
beach access by my place, we probably wouldn't do it because it's too steep.
Yes.
But,
Right.
you know, we can say it's allowed on
We
beach
can-
access 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Correct, and this, central village area.
And that's where this municipal reserve land and your pathways
Jack's Pond.
have to be dealt with in a different way because they're not roads, as according to this bylaw, they're your paths and trails. Is what they really are. Your accesses going down are your trails to get down there.
And we don't want them on certain trails where we've got a kind of a physical barrier.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
right, Dan, because there is trails that,
We don't want them on,
no,
right here, sort
Yeah.
of steep ones, like you said.
Yeah.
Back there.
So for me, it's being very clear and it says the following roadways.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
this is just
Within the
dealing.
summer village
So-
has been identified.
So then we can, like the one on the bottom of the map where it's the highway, like
That's outside our
we
boundaries.
can leave that red in there because that's pretty clear,
Yeah.
but just the beach access is,
Let's leave them off for
Let's
now,
take them
and then let's
completely.
address those access points with our own down the road that deal only with pathways.
Right, but I think then you're not clearly laying out to these people that it's roadways. They think these are roadways, they're not roadways,
well, they're not,
they're
they're-
paths.
but they won't be highlighted in green either, so
Yeah.
they're not,
That's
These
right,
are the routes.
yeah, I was,
just like all the back paths aren't highlighted red or green
Yeah.
on this, we're just leaving them off.
I would say take the red off.
okay, take the red off
Yeah.
the front area, okay, so that'll be another amendment, and then we can fix that and get it that sent
Okay.
out, so
Okay.
But
that.
I'm leaving the red from the bottom one. I'm leaving that, right? Or take off over it.
That's fine to leave it on
The red towards in the county portion.
just all the,
Essentially, I have to redo
just all the beach
That's how I would
accesses.
say.
Okay.
Is it easy to take them off there?
That's not that easy.
No, it's not that easy, I'll just redo it. Just cause I don't have to keep the proper capabilities, so I'm gonna just feeling.
But that's why, if you read it, the following roadways.
Yeah,
And that we
no,
made it
I-
clear,
I think this meets that requirement without a problem.
yeah,
So does that impact being able to do a first and second reading today then?
First, and you can
So
do,
the first one, Melissa said you approve first reading.
when
The
you,
second reading, you do as amended.
yes,
Okay,
so if you understand how, like even the government, until something gets into play. It doesn't get into play unless it's had first reading.
Right.
Then it becomes in play. Then the second reading is where they do amendments. And then third is where you can do amendments again, but it's better to do it in the second. Take your time, get the amendments done, third is final.
okay, so then we may have to do the second reading,
no, we can do it, we can do
No, you
it
can do it today
with
the
the amendments we're proposing.
okay,
So it's as proposed.
okay.
And
Yes.
then they can fire it off.
And then you could follow up after and actually
Yes.
We'll make the
do
changes.
all that.
Is everything's as is, we're good to go. You
Okay.
can't do.
So far have the amendments as valid placard and Schedule A 7D for violation tape and but 7D
Yes.
violation ticket.
And then
In the,
And then remove the red on the map.
remove the red on the
Nah.
beach
Beach access.
access trails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you put it as beach access trails, that's clear, because they're not roadways.
yes, I like that.
That's good.
Okay,
So do you have that?
Yeah, I do. Beach access trails, I did do that, yeah.
So
And then
remove the red from the beach access
Yeah,
trails
and
as
then
they
remove
are
red
not,
on the map on beach access trails.
roadways.
Okay.
Add that, it's clear.
Okay. I will move first reading.
Okay.
all in favor?
It's presented, second reading, moved by whoever who chooses to approve the second reading of ILO 21024 golf cart pilot project as amended. And then add
with amendments and then have the 2 points.
Can we just clarify for the second reading, so failure to display valid registration placard on Schedule A. How exactly are we wording that 7D we said?
Yeah.
Can we just
valid.
see exactly how that will read?
So 7D would be replaced to say failure to display valid registration placard.
Oh, wait, 7D?
70.
Yeah, on Schedule A.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about yeah, Schedule A is fine. What were we changing up in the actual verbiage of the bylaw?
7D.
So it's not the verbiage in 7D, it's the verbiage in the fine.
Yes,
So it's,
Okay.
okay.
so 7D is fine as it is.
It's
Yes.
only the,
Okay, that's what
it's
I,
only the schedule.
Schedule A, 7D point to read include valid registration.
there is no 7D in Schedule A. It's
No.
just,
You're right.
oh, sorry, yeah, 7D,
Yeah,
yeah.
7D says permits
Valid.
issued will include a numbered
Okay.
registration placard which must be affixed.
Okay, that's just where I was getting confused. I thought we were changing the verbiage of section 7D, and so I was.
No, we're
Okay, I'm
just
happy.
making sure, because it said, right now it just says failure to display a registration placard
Yeah.
and you want valid included.
Okay, well then I can move to approve the second reading.
Okay, all in favor?
Now you can submit it, make the changes and submit.
Yeah, second reading with the amendments.
Yes.
Did we get any indication? I know nothing has been approved by transportation or the ministry. Did we get any indication once they receive it of their timeframe? We're assuming it's gonna be before the summer?
We're hoping.
That's what we're hoping. All our conversations have been great feedback on our little amendments, little things we should consider. We've had genuinely good feedback. Now it's just submitting it in with the application form and waiting for them to say yay.
Yes, we're optimistic, let's be that.
Nobody has done one as good as us yet.
I am hoping that we have it back
We'll get it back before Lacombe does.
by April. So that it's all in tune with, we get our budgets done, we get the signage installed, because of once we print the budget, we get all the signage ordered, we get it all installed. Because that's the clear thing for them is you cannot, it's not valid until everything is installed.
And we have to drill into Frost then potentially to put a post in.
That's
That's
why I'm thinking
Lots of posts.
April.
I mean, we may get some pushback from people saying, well, you know, I'm only registering the cart for 7 or 8 months of the year and you're making me pay for a full year one, but that's just the way it
Similar
is.
to your boat one though.
Yeah,
Both
Yeah.
thinking the same, and then of course, we still don't know where that, because we hear there's amendments coming on that, and we're worried that it's gonna come in right when we're in the mad rush of it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to turn around and say, there's not enough time for us to make amendments, we can't pull council to make amendments in that short a time frame.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
impossible.
well, we'll see what they have to say.
Okay,
Okay, moving right along.
Are they doing the fees and service one? No?
No, that comes with budget, because
Okay.
there's other things that will have to be discussed during budget.
6.2, snow removal. So,
So what I did was, you guys gave me some recommended changes, so I took those and I've got what it used to be and what's new. And so I've amended it and tidied it up. I think it sounds a lot better.
I agree.
yes. I'm happy with all of the concepts of it. The only feedback I had was just mainly grammatical on section 3 or paragraph 3, whatever that
Paragraph
is.
3, the municipality
Yeah,
allows.
it's got the A, B, C, D, E, with the E being if the property owner does not adhere to the guidelines 1 to 4, which should actually be A to D.
Oh, yes.
And
I missed that.
and otherwise, that whole point E should probably be a new number. So
or letter, yeah.
3 would have A, B, C, D, and then 4 would be if the property owner does not adhere to the guidelines 3A through D, then the property owner I didn't think it should be
Yeah,
point E, I thought it should be its own.
I think you're right, so,
And then the
The-
4 would become 5, plowing services do not include would now be
Yeah.
0.5 and so on. Just minor things, but I thought that would
no, that's good, I didn't even think about that, and I missed that one, so thank you for that clarity. So we'll change 3 to have just A, B, C, D. E will become 4, and then the numbers will consensually change moving forward.
yeah,
Yeah, and that the guidelines should be
guidelines,
3A through to D.
yes, yeah. Otherwise, I was happy with this.
Okay, motion.
So
Motion
is this
to-
like a first reading then, or is this a second, first and second reading?
You just do one. This is just a one resolution, it's just a policy that helps guide us through our operations.
Oh, a policy versus a bylaw,
Correct,
okay,
but you will just basically that you are approving this policy with the amendment. Addition of, and we'll keep the notes in there,
okay,
and then we'll make the changes and it's in play,
okay.
Okay, I'll move it.
Okay.
okay?
All in favor?
Thank you.
I was waiting for.
Hey,
I thought we were just like building the suspense.
I think that's a lot clearer.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah, and it's good to review these and tweak them every year so that you make sure you're fitting it to what you guys' desires are.
Okay, next, natural gas franchise, and we talked about that before.
And there has been some welcome benefits of having these in play, just so you know. When we did our Front Street construction and relocating of the gas came in way cheaper when they had to lower the gas line. And then the power to relocate the power pole is a zero cost. So there's advantages to having these agreements in place.
That wouldn't have been the case if there wasn't an agreement in place.
Correct, you would have been paying construction costs of $16,000 and some dollars.
Oh, interesting.
And part of this agreement could be put back onto the ratepayers, but we're not doing that part.
You will be every fall, this will come back to you because the agreement has a revenue franchise fee.
Yeah,
So every year you will be re-reviewing and deciding if you want to continue at your 0% that you have maintained over the years, and you said to continue that this year. But in the fall of 2025, this will come back into one of your council packages and you will be able to revisit it as part of your agreement. And if you decide to make any changes or review adding a fee onto residential bills and collecting additional revenue, that is an option you will have annually over these contracts. And the process will be to advertise, then you need AUC approval. So again,
But basically, if we agree to that, they would then increase the fee. And then residents would have to pay that.
it's added onto a utility bill,
Yeah.
like I get a utility bill and it
but we're
has
just
the
saying
home
we
county
don't need that.
franchise fee. And I pay $5.
Correct. Correct. So
Yes.
we're saying we don't want that to.
That's what you guys have said, yes.
yeah. It's just not worth it.
Okay,
No,
Yeah,
so today we're just basically formalizing what we already decided in that, whenever that meeting was, the November meeting or whatever that was.
and it is a 10-year contract with an annual review.
yes. And it can be maximized in up to, if the renewal didn't get done fast enough, then it would carry forward
With the
maximum to 25 according to the AUC and government.
Okay,
Okay, we need a motion.
For second reading, right?
Yes.
Going back at the RFD.
And I need second and third reading.
Don't you go unanimously carried, isn't there 3 motions?
We did the first,
Yeah,
we submitted it off to the AUC, we did the
Yeah.
advertising,
so you,
and now we need to do second and third reading.
we don't have to unanimously go into, like, there's always that third one between second and third. That they unanimously.
Only if you do all three readings in one time.
Okay, and just double checking, so I make
Yes.
sure my stuff's
No,
correct.
that is if you do a bylaw with all three readings in one
Meeting.
sitting, you must then agree.
Sounds good, okay, now you know,
I'll make motion to,
approve second reading,
All in favor? Yes.
And I can make a motion to approve the third reading.
third and final, okay.
All in favor?
I'll
Thank
get this
you.
back to them and we're good.
It's for decision.
And I asked for a slight short 2-minute recess to go to the washroom.
That sounds good.
Thank you. I just realized I gotta go.
I will too. Is it guys and girls or one washroom?
One more.
Okay, I'll go after you.
Didn't think we were big enough for two.
You're gonna get out of here by you. Look at you go.
Well, I hope so, I gotta go to Red here too. There's so much going on.
What's happening in Red Deer today?
Lost a friend over there, actually the day we came back.
No, sorry to hear that.
Someone to get tangled up with for 60 years. So that was just to do with.
We have an outstanding invoice from July 31st, 2024 that cannot be rolled into the taxes at the end of 2024. Since it's not a land item, MGBA requirement to collect payment. So it's an overpayment of an annual honorarium in 2023. And the repayment options were established, however, due to resignations, the municipality is left with an outstanding overpayment amount of $729.17. Plus a 2% interest charge per 30-day period, bringing the total amount owed to $802.07. It's important to note that the individual did not receive any reimbursement for incurred expenses related to the remuneration policy, including expenses for committing any mileage or other related costs during their term in 2024. In light of this, the municipality is requesting the council to consider writing off the outstanding honorarium balance of $802.07, given that no expenses were claimed in accordance with the council remuneration policy. There would be no effect on the budget as travel, meetings, and other related expenses are already accounted for and budgeted accordingly annually. And this would help us for a year-end clear up if council would do a resolution to write off the honorary balance owing.
I'll make that motion.
Perfect. Done.
Okay,
We need to all in favor?
y'all in favor?
Yes, please.
Okay. White Sands Hall Society items.
So I provided you a summary of everything at the November 11th regular council meeting. You had a delegation. They presented you with a list of budgetary items for consideration 2025 municipal budget. We also, administration met with Cheryl and Andrea on December 6th to discuss the listed items. The breakdown of the estimated costs associated with these proposals were provided, including a comparison with the 2024 budget. So I've attached that in behind here. Please note that the breakdown does not account for any potential changes related to inflation and other federal and provincial tax adjustments, maintenance, operational increases expected during 2025 budget deliberations. Total percentage increase over the 2024 budget would be a 1.1364% increase.
If we did everything on that list.
Yeah, of what they proposed. I don't know what the actual would be.
Right.
This is estimated. So the following priority items for the 2025 municipal budget were expressed by Hall Society members. The ones are engineering plan for the upgrade and expansion of the parking lot. They expressed that's a top priority for them. Digital sign, bulletin board, message boards, party tent, gazebo, windows, and Wi-Fi.
So are we approving the budget for this, or are we approving the activities that are we agreeing to all of this?
You are deciding how you want to address this within your 2025 budget deliberations, along with all your other stuff.
But the money will not be expended until,
The budget is approved,
but once the budget is approved, these all will occur.
depending on
Just
what you approve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we have an opportunity to say, yeah, we're not gonna proceed with that.
Right.
The way you're, once we
Yeah.
have a full costing and all of that.
yeah, like it's some of it's. Of
These are
course, you've read it,
requests.
some of it's pretty vague
Yes.
because of like retaining wall $2,500, but that's maybe just the material.
Yeah, we don't, yeah,
In a lot of cases, it's not, this installation is not included. This is just the.
yeah, so we'll have an opportunity to respond back on any individual item like.
Yeah,
Okay,
Once you guys go through your whole budget, because this.
Yeah. that's a placeholder for the money potentially.
Yeah, that if you approved all of this. That would give, like,
So what are we
let
deciding?
me just finish, I'll walk through a little bit and then we'll go right to the sheet and I'll explain it better. So, I got a quote from Bondo to fix the internet. That is a budget number of $2,298. I think I could probably do better, but I need more time. And that's why budget deliberations are key is, these are numbers that could we do better? Is there more we could do? But we need a number. Now we have a number. So other things that weren't asked for at that presentation of this list of items was firewood, which is a request that's been coming in a lot for us to provide firewood. We don't have budget for that. Fire gathering area, they would like a lean-to to be built for the firewood. That came in, but an update I just got is they're now seeking volunteers, and I've made myself available that when they come up with the plan to give us a call, we'll go down. They're gonna do their own materials and they can propose and show us what their plan is and we can approve it. And then it'll just take it more into administration. Cause I don't think it's, if it's being volunteered and the materials are being volunteered, I don't think it's council budget issue at all. So we just wanna make sure it fits, we've got it accounted for, so that insurance wise, we make sure we're tracking this stuff. Okay, so that one's kind of come off, firewood still is there. As the municipality continues to plan for future development, it will be important to consider creating a park and recreation plan. And this plan could address recreational items not yet included in the budget, including their uses, costs, maintenance, and other relevant factors that we should be looking at in the bigger picture than decision. Once that budget's passed, it's really hard for me to authorize or for us to change because you set your tax rates and that's what we work on. And when additional requests come in after budget, it's very difficult to deal with those.
So with this park and recreation plan, could that potentially include what you talked about adding to the agenda?
That's where,
That's kind of where I went through some of this. I said, we need to have a kind of a bigger plan, more input.
Right,
and that's what your next agenda item will be talking about.
okay,
So I kind of brought it up.
okay,
Cost source of funding, also, we didn't budget for the bulk water for the ice rink, and right now we're sitting at about 460 roughly, but I just found out we had an increase January 1st, so.
Add $4 to 160.
$4 to that. So we need to really start budgeting better for this kind of stuff, because this is the type of stuff that can throw off a budget and get us into hot water.
How did we do it 2 years ago when we used water? Was it not
They
budgeted?
didn't, cause last year it was the lake and
2 years ago we did.
Yeah, that was just,
We got a number
yeah.
and we hauled, not near as much, but there was water.
right, but I don't think it had the impact as it
Significant.
does now.
Yeah, it took more this year for sure.
Yeah. So on the next page after the report there. So when I reviewed just the numbers they provided. And to last year's budget, these points here, I know I put percentage mill rate, basically it's the percentage increase. And when I tallied it all up, and then I started going through, there's different options that you need to start thinking about, and that's why having a plan, recreation plan, would really help, because you can either do it based as your basic tax rate, mill rate, or under the MGA 3821, we do right now, the road use agreement is under a special tax bylaw. You can do that with recreation.
So we could potentially use a grant for it. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
it's not a grant, you would be doing a special tax.
For recreation improvements.
Recreation improvements and use, and you can build from there. So this is done annual, if you did it based on the properties, 409. At the estimated cost that they provided in their estimates, which I think it's gonna be a lot different. When we get the actual numbers, for some things, some may come down, some may go up. It came to 11,260, which cost per property is $27.53.
Yeah, and That, this is just on the totals that are on this page here.
But
That's
one
right.
of,
That isn't true.
That's right.
no, yeah, like, you know, it's,
And we don't really have a recreation fund at all, and maybe this is something that is going to be you should discuss during your budget is. How do you wanna deal with recreation? That's why there's.
Yeah, I
discussion.
think it's probably like the same as a lot of towns and villages, they have a recreational board that looks after the curling rink and all the rest of it in town. But also it's paid for by the through the taxes. So actually, when you look at all these things that are going on throughout the Paul Society, it is kind of like a mini recreational board item. And when Melissa's talking about a special tax, so that's a tax that the MGA allows you to put certain things evenly across the board, whether the properties are occupied or not. As a so we do it with
Stetler Road.
Yeah.
County Road
yeah.
is one.
Yeah.
It would be like
It's-
your education tax, right? So
Yeah.
you've got playgrounds in the village. You've got certain recreational equipment, maybe not everybody uses it, but it's there. And then it would just, you would set this up as a recreational cost. And you could, like what I calculated here, based on what their requests were, and that's $27.53. You could set something where you're going to budget, so you've got replacement costs in there. And you could do $35.
so that would be a flat rate for property regardless of the
Yeah.
assessed value of that property.
Yeah.
Correct,
So
where if you do it through your tax rate,
it would be unassessed value.
it's on assessed values, so some will pay more. Some won't.
So if you get times, sometime just go on the MGA and look at special tax and it'll tell you what you can put on there. Like it's
No,
not,
it's
it's
not.
very specific.
Actually, that'll probably be in some of your council orientation stuff, because they're gonna talk about financial anyway
Yeah.
and budgets, so that's a good question to have someone in here.
Okay,
So how do we address this without addressing kind of a bigger plan? Or can we?
I think right now with
Just
this,
for discussion.
This is only for discussion, okay.
yeah, you guys asked me to bring back how it would affect the budget.
okay,
And that's what I brought you back is, there's two ways it can affect your budgets. One, if you do it on your regular budget. And you do it as a mill rate increase, it's going to have a 1.1 increase of the budget,
assuming these costs are correct, which.
correct? Because you have to throw these now on top of whatever.
But in some cases, I mean, like there were different options, so like, you know, for your information boards, they had 3 different options. And your estimated costs are less than the costs for the digital billboard, so I guess you're choosing, is it the ones on the right of the column? Like, when I look at your,
Cause I got the item that they asked for, these are all the items they had
They're all
listed.
free, it's not an option, they're
Okay.
all free, they were have requested for. The message
Yes.
boards, the cork and the digital.
oh, I thought it was one of the.
It's not one of the
Okay,
other.
well, the total estimated cost is only 11,260, but the digital billboard alone was 17,000.
That's right. So I'm just, what I put in here is, okay, based on all the requests that they have provided. The total cost, whether it's accurate or not, their estimated cost is 11,260. If you put that cost on all the properties you have that are taxable within the municipality, it's 409, and that cost per property is $27.53.
Okay, but my question is, all this stuff would add up to probably 30,000.
He's saying the 17 is already above your 11, so how does that math work?
Yeah, the
The
17,000.
digital sign pushes it over 17, it should be probably
Your
20.
formula single?
Oh, maybe my
I think
fault.
your formula is not working.
Okay, I might have missed
Yeah.
that. That's my fault. So then you can guess, maybe it's gonna be higher than that.
Yeah.
Double, well,
Yeah,
Be double.
Sure.
and the idea is to be able to let you guys know, these are how they affect.
Mhm.
And that my advice to you guys would be to accept this and defer it to your budget deliberations, so you can have an actual decide
Okay,
how you wanna handle this.
okay.
Yeah,
So
You're
we're
not approving anything until that budget is approved.
Correct.
and for next meeting, can we just redo this page? I mean, we can move
I can-
to
I can
discussion,
read-
but kind of,
Actually, I'll redo this page, but now it's gonna move into your budget.
yeah.
So when we do the budget package, this will be attached to the budget package.
But this is entirely just a wish list and we can treat it as such that we
Right.
can
That's
approve.
what it's
or not.
about, yeah.
That's right, you're not approving anything, you're just tabling this to your budget deliberations and have administration amend and add the 17,000 onto the bottom number.
I'll make that motion.
To approve as amended and then.
Not
No.
approved,
No, not approved, sorry.
motion to
Accept.
accept and,
Defer to future discussion at budget time.
yes,
Right.
Okay,
Budget.
and the administration add the 17,000 correctly on the number.
Yeah, well, it's just good catch. Well,
yeah, so the impact is quite a bit more on, the budget, more the special tax.
That's being nice.
Yeah.
better option for that sign, but anyway,
You want to
okay.
accept and defer?
Yeah,
Yeah, defer to
All
budget
in-
deliberations.
favor, okay.
Okay.
Review Parkland Regional Library Agreement.
As long as your guys', I have no recommendations.
So we got the survey results back and they indicated that, we certainly got some responses back saying they value the.
This is what Gord had about the return, so he has the county settling town, but I put the white sands on top there. He made copies for y'all.
Okay.
So your return on investment, we had talked about, so.
I think based on the conversation that we had today, my personal feelings, and based on, what we heard back from the survey respondents. I think we're grumbly about recalculation that took us from 1,200 to 1,700, but. I mean, I would feel, and being a member on the board there, I would say, let's continue to be a part of it, but let's, over this next year, let's make efforts to utilize some of these services they talked about, and we can be maybe reevaluating going forward if we want to have a different feeling on it future years, but.
So. I think your conversations you should have. And if you do defer it, which is a great idea. Maybe schedule to, in your resolution, whatever you decide. That you will re-review and pick a month. In the fall, so it's scheduled.
Well, so we have two options. We can either pay it and continue and then look at it down the road. Or we can say, no, we're not paying this, we're gonna opt out.
Well, we have to
You
pay
would still
anyways,
have to
because we
pay
still,
this year.
we have to
We'd
get
have
12
to
months.
pay this year, but we could give 12 months notice so we wouldn't pay it next year.
Yeah.
So those are real, we pay no matter what, because we're still part of this agreement. Opt out in 12 months, don't pay it next year.
Right,
Or if we defer it, then we go another year that we have to pay next year.
right. So my personal feelings on it, it's a 50% increase or 40% increase. That sounds awful, but we are still talking, it's $1,700, which, it's a 1/10 of the cost of the digital billboard.
Well,
Something to think about.
I looked at it and went, I tried to get her to say a number, she
Yeah.
kept saying it's low, and
Yeah.
so it's that one or two people. And the rest of us that want to access a library would have that from my library card in Calgary, or my this or my
Yeah.
that, and no one's gonna be refused service, so it's not. It's almost becomes like a donation to the greater cause in a way,
It is.
as opposed to any, we're paying for a direct benefit for us. Because we don't have a library, we don't have
Yeah.
any of these services unless we go to Stettler.
We could kind
That is the clarity, you can,
We can, but we currently don't.
and I think some of that
It's on us. I
it's
mean,
on us, the municipality, because we haven't been here to actually open that and pull it here and be able to help work with them in a proper way as we can now.
if we're thinking of, you know, like this children's program or something like that, bringing it out here on Wednesday afternoons. If we're looking at doing something like that, it would be pretty not good form to say, oh, and we're pulling out at the same time. But-
well, we've already paid for this year, so if we use those services this year,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, but
it's a principle of paying for something that we don't really get access to, is how I look at it. And yes, it's not a huge amount. And you want to support the greater cause, but is that our role?
And I guess you would have to look at our position as a municipality being a resort municipality as well. So most of the usage of it, I think, would be, of course, in the summer. But I guess I just really don't, I mean, to get the services out here, I would really, depends how it would work out, I would, you know, be pleased with that. The other thing is the low membership that they have from White Sands that we don't really know, but it certainly is maybe not these figures.
Yeah,
Unless, I mean, it'll take some discussion, we have time. But the thing is, in future, when we do a survey or something, it has to be more tight with who's filling it out.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because obviously,
well,
I'd like to know what the numbers were from.
I guess, you know.
I think it's hard, you can collect addresses, you can hope the person who's putting it in is accurately putting in their address. Somebody could go online and pick an address and put in and do your survey.
Well,
Nothing's
You could
gonna
ask them for an
concrete.
email, like sometimes surveys are really off the wall. And they don't give you your right response, and I truly don't, this could be 100%, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, and I think a question we could have, in hindsight, is, do you have a library card from Detler? Or, you know, a regional library card?
Yeah, anyway, that's
But-
here nor there, but we gotta kind of make a decision whether we want to get involved and see what happens, or.
So if we say no and take the services this summer and determine that, hey, it did have some value because they actually came out and we did a few things and it was a good thing for the kids in the summer and that sort of thing. And, you know, the people that say they use it would be able to continue. Can we then say, oh, you know, in this time next year, can we say, okay, you know what, we did find value, let's rescind that decision and go back? Or is that, you feel that's a little?
I don't feel comfortable with that, because then I think we're not acting really in good
Good
faith.
faith.
I think I'd say
Yeah.
renew it for another year, you know, push the decision off to pull out by another year, make efforts to do it. Based on the survey that came back, you know, 42% said yes, they use it.
Yeah.
You know, yes, maybe we didn't collect the best survey data that we could, but, you know, based on that first snapshot, if 42% of the community is saying, yes, they value the library, then I don't think we should go and
Kill it.
kill it. So, you know, maybe we can say, we'll be part of it, we'll look at utilizing some of these services that we found out about today, before, you know, maybe when after the election, that'll be a good time to collect new stuff and have the new council make a decision on, you know, did we see incremental benefit, or maybe pull out at that point and give the 12 months notice.
Yeah. So I think you guys are coming up with something here, and whatever your resolution is, that you kind of just give me a bit of direction, because I need the direction so I can get this communication with us and get these things out here and try to schedule some of this stuff. Because I think you're right, we gotta bring it here. Let's test it.
Well, I think that's what they were saying too, that they have, you know, done maybe not the best job for some municipalities. And we haven't had any thing out here from the library.
Right.
But I'm
And
sure,
I think it's been the communication, because at Ocean Sands, it was all done through the Hall Society. The Hall Society had everything worked out, and that's
Yeah.
why there's been these. The library's been out there every year.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Since I started working there.
So now that we're
Okay.
here, I would like to get that communication open.
I agree with that.
I'm fine either way.
Yeah, I kind of am too, and I do think that if you want some service or activity to continue, you have to support it. Like support local, I guess, in a way. And there seems to be some usage, survey accuracy or not. So I would probably support not canceling it this next year, but I do see that as something that I want to get ahead of it next year, so that when we have that cancellation window or not, then we'll have at least one more year of, hey, we tried it last year, yes, we're gonna have to pay it one more year. But if we're not getting service, we cancel it. Like, I think we've alerted them, we've alerted ourselves
Yes.
that is a service that's out there, let's try to use it, and if we don't find that we're using it, then let's cancel it next
Yeah.
year.
Okay, and
And
it's
you
not
should
only,
review it in October. It's
Yeah.
scheduled for October, you
Yeah.
talk about it, you review it, you give your notice.
and the other part of the equation is too, if you don't have anybody in the vicinity of the cone, and you had a member that has to go represent Wet Sands, then you would be looking at mileage for meetings and per diem per meetings too, so that would add on to your requisition costs.
Costs.
So that's just to add into there if that happened. It does so happen that we have someone there now.
No, well, I'm part of the,
And they do
You're not
Zoom.
on the library, maybe you should be.
He is on the library.
He's in the library.
No, he's not.
He's on the power plant.
When did we put a?
You put him in.
yeah,
Oh, you are, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
thought
so
we
I-
had no representation.
no,
'cause we were looking-
I'm the
We did.
representative now.
Before and.
Oh,
we
and then you
had,
got on,
Yeah,
okay, then I'm okay with that,
so, but I know I've been attending virtually, so it
Yeah,
it is still the meeting
No,
cost.
then I'm good with that, then I would support that then.
And you're being a part of it, you should have somebody attend.
Yes, if we're paying for it and,
Yeah,
we have representation on it, I'm
Yeah.
good with that then.
That would be like your water
Yeah.
thing, same thing, you're a partner, you have representation.
okay, so that's how we'll float.
What's our motion? Make your resolution and give me some direction to open the communication and pull
Okay.
some stuff.
So we are resolving to continue to be part of the Parkland Regional Library System. That we will make efforts over this coming summer season to reach out to with the Stettler Library to bring in some of the services such as this children's reading program. And that after the election in August, whenever it is, anyways, by October, we'll reassess the value that we're getting out of it and make a decision
Correct.
on if we are continuing or pulling out.
Yes.
I'm good with that. Let's go.
That's a wonderful resolution.
Well, let's let her finish.
What? Hey, and I did shorthand, so bear with me, so
We can tweak it from the video,
Yeah.
make sure we get all the parts.
moved by, I'm gonna say Counselor Ashford to continue to be in the Parkland Regional Library systems agreement and make efforts this year to reach out with the public library to have programs within the community, within the White Sands community. And after the general elections, will be reassessed in October 2025.
Yeah, that summarizes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Two. Yeah, good. I just gotta reach out, pull some stuff here.
Okay, so next is 7.4 rec input. Danny?
I did not attend any committee meetings between now and the last time. The only thing I have to.
This was.
No, this is your addendum edition.
On the.
Oh, yes, sorry, I skipped ahead to the reports. Yeah, I think we need to seek public input into potential recreation uses of, village center here. Is there anything we could add or improve? And it might include, some, that might also be that thing they wanted in the parking lot. It might, I think we need to have a bigger plan, because this is a recreation village. What do we need for Jack's Pond? Are we allowed to do what we do in Jack's Pond? Should we increase, I guess, I don't think we need to make any decisions, and I don't think it even has a cost to it, other than let's do some public consultation. I mean, we're gonna get a lot of input, or hopefully we get a lot of input, and it might be, we should have a swimming pool. Well, that's, we take all of that, yeah, exactly. We take all of that, and then we say, okay, maybe we can do a better recreation use of our fire access routes, Jack's Pond. The three are mainly what I'm looking at is, can we make a walking path? I don't know. I guess that's
Creating
why.
a park and recreation plan, and what do you want in the future as part of that plan?
It's more to get public input on it. It's not just my ideas or yours. It's more, let's go a little broader, do a public. I don't even know what that looks like. Is it an email? Is it a forum? Is it, just a solicitation for ideas? But I think just kind of a bigger picture stuff. And you might find that, no, hey, the lake is it. Like, we don't need any of that. But you might find, some good ideas.
I think, I like the idea of having like an integrated vision of how we do it, so that guides us when we're doing things like, the basketball court upgrades. Does that fit
Exactly.
into the vision, or, ultimately, playground structures need to be replaced or upgraded,
That's
things
your
like that.
future cost that you're gonna be looking at in budgets, is because you're gonna have to start having that plan. And what's the equipment you need to be able to do that kind of stuff, so that all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and it could be, getting the input for a 3 to 5 year plan. It's not gonna happen tomorrow or this summer, and it might not be in the budget for the summer at all, but hey, by the way, we're looking at this, or this makes sense, or that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
kind of,
I think that's a good idea. You will get, like in the past, we just overwhelmed with
for sure.
the amount of comments. And it could probably go in. Probably go into Melissa. Or what do you call that plan that we do all the time for?
Strategic planning?
Strategic planning.
I think this needs to be a
Or just-
broader idea, like, yes, strategic plan it creates a bit of a direction of where you wanna go. And this is a direction that you should be looking at. But it creates an overarching plan, because then we can start looking at, how do we budget for this? How do we get funding? Is there other opportunities? Like, what if a private person
Donations or-
wanted to donate, they had a nice amount, and you got a plan, and they can pick what they want to attach as their donation. Capital is one thing, it's the maintenance as you're moving forward. How do we deal with this stuff?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and like Dan said, with Jack's Pond, what can we do down there? Because it is environmental reserve.
Wait a minute here. Let's get clarity on Jack's Pond. According to our stormwater master plan that was done through the engineers, and they researched everything, Jack's Pond is an existing pond At the north end of Cayley Crescent between Destiny Drive and Mackenzie Way, the pond is contained within a municipal reserve lot, which is correct, with a nearby playground. Currently, the pond is no overflow outlet. The pond, the depth was not able to be measured during the survey of the ponds. The pond appears to be Crown claimed public land.
Go.
Additional regulatory approvals will be required for any works associated with this water body. And these are things that we
Any
have.
works, so structures.
Right, so again, that's why I'm working with the society when they come in with their requests, so I can make sure what is actually on ours, what should be under us, and what do we have to be careful what we're doing when we're planning, when it's not, if it's Crown, it's not ours.
So if we wanted to put a structure on it, we'd have to get approval from the Crown. If we wanna flood a piece of it, do we need to get approval from the Crown?
I would say we probably do, because
You
they're
could go on
affecting-
Crown land with a sled or a snowmobile and such, and you don't need special approval,
It would depend if we're trying to change that water body.
but we're not.
So there's lots of
Yeah.
things I don't know fully yet, but
So currently, we're not outside of any particular rules and regulations, but if we had somebody say, hey, we wanna dredge it and excavate it and do this and do that,
there's a whole.
then we would, so you're letting us know that there is some other things that may happen if we wanna proceed down this road,
Right,
Okay.
and so as people put ideas out there, we have to make sure we understand
that we
this.
have to go through another hoop for sure.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's just good that we understand, cause yeah, I'm still learning a lot about this stuff, but. Finding out, we gotta tread careful in certain ways, we haven't done any disturbances per se at this point in time. But what if, I don't want people to just jump the gun, do something, and then we end up in trouble
Yeah.
later. When we don't need to. Yeah, and that's why having this plan, I think is a great idea.
So how do we get public input, or do you have some ideas on that?
Oh, last time we, emailed,
Yeah, I don't have any ideas at this point, cause you've just kind of.
one time we did actually a mail out.
I think a committee. I think that'd be cool. I think if you got us to draft up a committee bylaw and we went out there and sought out some people that might wanna sit on this committee and start. Coming up with questions that they would like to throw out there, we can work with them. Put out the survey and then they can gather this and we can bring it as, it's just recommendations to council to consider. And if you have things you want them to further investigate, it would take some load off us, or do you want us to completely do it? It's up to you, but then that would seek public input.
So establish a committee to seek public input. I think if you're gonna strike a committee, you need to have very clear deliverable and very
Yes.
clear timelines and very clear mandate about. They're not making those decisions, they're making recommendations.
Correct, and I can draft the bylaw and you guys would approve it, and then I would go out and seek the people to maybe start helping with working on that. If you guys are okay with that, but we put it in a bylaw and we put out the conditions, just like you would in your council bylaw.
Yeah, we can do that, I guess, as long as the understanding is there, you know.
That's why I say it has to be very clear what the committee's mandate is, what the direction, what the length of time, what we're asking them for. We're not, ultimately, the council still has to make
Yeah.
the financial
So
decisions.
it's just a gathering of information.
That's right.
So what I'll do is I can draft the committee bylaw and bring it to you guys, you will approve it, and then we proceed. Or amend. Or amend or whatever, make the changes that you want to make sure that the committee bylaw is clear, what you're setting out in it,
Okay,
yeah, and then that way you're directing it.
Okay, sounds good.
You can make a motion,
Make a motion to Melissa to put the craft together.
draft a how do we wanna name it? Park and Recreation Plan Committee?
I think you gotta work, it's strategic, but it's a consultate, public consultate. I think you want those words in there. So
Yeah.
their goal is to seek
Public.
input.
Public or community consultation? Just throw out words.
Yeah.
To create a park and recreation committee bylaw and lay out the guidelines for council to review at the next meeting.
Sure.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Then it gives me time to process.
Mayor council, which is, I don't know, don't have a calendar, hold on, what's next meeting?
February.
12, I think, 12. Not accessible. February 12.
February.
2025. Okay, moved by whoever to have administration create a park and recreation committee bylaw and lay out the guidelines for the next regular council meeting on February 12th, 2025.
That was Lauren.
Lauren made that.
All in favor? Okay. So committee reports. Mine, I just had that one to do the meeting of the children's law. The emergency one, I think everybody was at.
I wasn't.
Oh,
Yeah, that one was the external agency.
Yeah, that was
And-
not required.
Oh, yeah.
I went to, just to kind of see where cause the ambulance, the fire, the police, they were all there.
Yeah, the stream external agency, so just all of us kind
Yeah.
of show up there, and then there's another one coming up. I think they were
They
talking
then in
February.
March come back and say, this is where we're going with this.
Yeah,
okay, so as far as Paul. Can you give a brief outline? What we did? Or what was said there?
Yeah.
They did say that there would be a meeting in the first
Yeah, I
quarter.
believe that was in December, I presented that results, I
Yeah.
believe.
yeah, you did.
Yeah, and it was basically that they are going to do a scenario. It'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
a paper one, and it'll be if the Red Deer River, no, if the dam burst, what would be the impact to
Yeah.
all of the communities downstream?
And then right after that meeting, they had the other one that was at the public workshop, and that was a active shooter.
At the, yeah,
Yeah.
at that school.
And I didn't go ahead, I was online
Yeah.
versus in.
That one was very much a paper one. This other one is going to be a little bit more extensive.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting because they basically say, you know, your drinking water might be compromised, or will be likely, your electricity, your communications, and then what the response of each of the divisions would be, including what our response would be. Like, yes, we're not gonna get flooded, but we might lose access to get to Camrose because the Battle River would be blowing out the bridge. So they're saying it would literally divide the province potentially from
The funding is multi-jurisdictional
Yeah.
because it affects
everybody and everything.
within all.
Not just the emergency services, but how does it affect the rest of it? So it'd be a good exercise. But that's what that was, and then they're going to, so they discussed, you know, having access to this, which was pretty good. They, you know, normally that's quite a costly activity, but they had access to do this scenario.
Yeah, the government is really good.
They were good with it because of all these fires and floods and all of that. They want, you know, us to be prepared, not just the emergency services to be prepared. So it was good.
Yeah.
But anyway, that one is coming to us for recommendation and feedback as counselors.
Yeah, and then the website thing, which I think we have it connected to our website, where you are a company and there's certain things that you could offer in an emergency situation, you can register on a specifics.
Yep. So services.
Thank you, guys.
Well, yeah, lunch ain't coming, so.
Sorry. No food offered at this whole time.
So yeah, so sorry.
Thank you, don't worry about it, we'll look after it.
So the one that the regional Metropolitan Water Commission. That
Public.
was on December 16th, did a meeting. And the water rates for the municipality with infrastructure, so that means that a place like Castor or whatever that has lines in the ground and hooked up to people's places, their price is $2.91 a cube. And it was before 2.83. So on the truck fill station, the cars,
$2.91, like $2.91, right?
yeah,
Okay.
Per cube in
from 2.83.
urban municipalities.
Yeah, the ones that have the infrastructure.
Mhm.
And then for the truck fill stations, it went from $4 to $4.10. We probably should have put that in the deal so the public doesn't think it went up a whole bunch. It only went up a dime.
We did put a posting on Facebook already yesterday.
But not the old price.
Oh,
But anyway, that's just here.
we just advised them that that's what it is.
So the big deal is that the Denalda Reservoir, so the pipe stand that they have for a water tower over there has been giving them trouble for years. Sometimes freezes up and sometimes unsafe water. So Denalda made application for a grant, and they got a grant from Alberta Transportation, 75-25. And then they lost quorum and they got back in order and they lost quorum again. So that's where they stand right now. And so the Shirley McLaughlin Water Commission got permission from the Minister of Transportation to accept that grant and get this thing built, because it's no good the way it is. The new reservoir will be a 400 cubic meter underground, and grant is estimated at 297 $2,975,000, and the estimated cost is $3,960,000. So there's an additional $1 million that'll have to be debentured over 25 years. And if it's the commission, now we're not sure about this because it isn't going to happen this year, apparently.
Yeah, I double checked. You don't have to worry about it in this year's budget.
But what it means, because if the commission takes it and puts it across the municipalities that belong to the commission, we haven't done that before as a commission. Like, all we do is take water to the reservoir. And then the municipality disperses it. Halkirk had their water tower down there failed. And so the county of Painters put a reservoir in for the is now of Halkirk. So I don't know where it's going to go, but the commission has been hands off. If it is going to be put on our portion, it would be about a $17,000 plus interest debenture for us.
And so if Denalda had their quorum, they would presumably do this themselves and they pick up the cost
Well,
themselves? Is that
Denalda's kind of in a mess right now because of the political upheaval there. But the thing is,
They just had their election.
right? But still, I don't get why we as White Sands need to
Part of
put
the
up
commission.
money to build their underground reservoir because they don't have their act in order.
well, the thing is, if
I think you're correct in summarizing it, but I think
Yeah.
as you are on the board of this commission, you need to make sure that you're getting the proper clarity. Because every other municipality deals with their own infrastructure within their own municipality. If this gets to be a disillusion moving forward issue, it will become part of the county.
then the county would be financially responsible. But right now, you're saying the commission could be financially involved.
It's possible. I don't know. The clarity isn't there right now.
Because right now, the commission took over their grant. Not the county took over the grant.
Yes, so the commission assumed that liability at this time.
Yeah, so we don't know where it's gonna be at. And I don't know, it's really different. That's a real difficult situation. It puts us at the point where, well, if we need to put water in the village, then the commission can put our reservoir here. Like, I mean, that's the kind of thing that this
And I
is,
think those are the conversations
Yeah.
that need to be happened at the commission so that you could get that understanding clearly brought across before any
yeah,
ratchets
there's
moves
gonna
are
have to
made
be
here.
some discussion, but it's definitely not gonna be 2025. Is what we're told.
No, I got that clarified. I emailed, I read it, just to
Yeah.
clarify it.
Anyway, and just to let you know, so what our percentage of that amount is based on our usage. So that 1.27% is our usage on
The system.
the system.
Yeah.
So our cubic meter allotment per year is 74,724 cubes a year. But that only includes what the village would be using. And it's just, it was done by a consultant. So anybody that's feeding cattle or watering cattle from that or other oil field purposes or whatever, that doesn't do anything to our debenture. So it's kind of a strange thing. And at first, I think I told you guys before, at first when the commission was formed, they had our allotment at 281,000 cubes per year, which is close to the same as town or town Castor. And it took me probably 6 years to get it changed. But anyway, this is just part of an education thing. The phases that we're talking about, number one phase was, you don't have to put this in.
Okay,
Phase number one was from the transfer station. It is west of the town of Stettler. The line goes all the way to Concert. Phase two was Big Valley. Phase three was Denalda. 4 is White Sands. 5 was Brownfield. 6 was Roshan Sands. 7 is going to be Balf and Roseland. And then 8 is the Denalda Reservoir. And then 9 from Concert to Compier. So, and the phase 7 and to Roslyn and Balf is underway. The line's already been bought and everything's going to be a go this summer. So the other thing is the service agreement for the commission between the commission and the county of Stettler. So the county of Stettler looks all after the administration, the repairs, the testing on truck stations and all the rest of that. So it's gone up, but I can't really give you what the last was because it's divided now into construction supervisory services is $95,000 and administration will be $88,000. But last year the administration I think was 121,000 somewhere in there. So it's gone up, but it's comparable to other commissions within the province. It's just that they rearranged it some. And we don't, as a municipality, pay administration. We just pay on our debentures, on our 1.72%. if we were ever to, so the administration goes to towns and villages that have water within their municipality. Yeah. So that's about it. I don't, it's kind of confusing, but whoever gets on the board next will find out. Okay. Dan?
No, committee attendance, the only thing I was involved with since the last meeting was the Jack's Pond ice stuff, and the 3-on-3 tournament went very well. Ice was not 100%, but it was pretty good, and they had the weather cooperated, it was good. They just announced that they're doing the curling on the 21st, I believe, and that ice is 90% there, and they need to put the circles and lines and all of that prior to that event, but that, and barring unusual weather events, I think there's enough ice on there now that it would have to be sustained above zero over a long period of time before you could lose it. But we learned a lot in putting that ice in. Some mistakes, but we learned a lot. But at least those two events or two activities are able to take place.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
For my updates, not too much for this last month as well. I don't think I covered this, or maybe I covered this just in the last meeting. The Stettler District Ambulance Association organizational meeting on December 9th. CAO Gord Lawler, who is here today, will be will be the chair. I think I said CAO, but that's not right. It should be chair. The one update of interest is that they've opened up a wing in one of the homes. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it's for out of town students or medical professionals. I know there's been a pitch to try to get more doctors into it. So, for out of town medical members using it, and they've got this accommodation available to them for short term. So I think it's been working out pretty well. There was going to be a housing authority meeting December 19th that got postponed into January because there's not to meet quorum. That was to be tomorrow, but now it's been postponed again to next week. But hopefully that will get going there. And that's my updates. Quiet enough.
Thank you.
Make a motion to accept the reports as presented.
I'll do that.
Okay,
All in favor? Mrs.
Okay, I'm not gonna reiterate, it was a busy month. I'll do some additions though, if that's okay with you guys. So I have just received confirmation from Roshan Sands that Stat Council passed both their readings on their bylaw and the $80 fee.
Good.
So we're in sync. Just to bring everybody up to speed, I'm working with Stettler County's Craig from their planning agency, because where the bulk water station is, it's actually sitting on a road allowance. Registered road allowance right away. So back in 2021, when I got here, there had been a road closure bylaw that had been started. The process wasn't completed properly, so it kept getting thrown back. So I started attempting it, and then when I left, the next person didn't complete it. Usually, but after 2 years of readings, it's kind of a dead bylaw. So I'm starting fresh. And
To do what?
the road closure.
To do the road closure
Yeah.
of that
So.
Yes, and we need minister
Yeah,
approval.
map there, you can see that,
Yeah.
Right here,
the original, that was supposed to be the original.
and your bulk water
access.
station is right in the middle of it.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they changed it into.
So working on that, so that'll probably come back next meeting for first reading, and we gotta do lots of different steps for it. And you'll have a public hearing and all that kind of stuff. Then it goes off to the minister, and we can sit for 6 months.
Or 3 years.
No, I think we're 4 or 6. I'm gonna pray for 6, that's all I'm gonna say. But, so that I'm working on with him, we're just getting confirmation that everything that we are doing in this bylaw will be able to be registered to land titles once we get it all approved. Because it's awful to do a bylaw, think you've done it right, you go to register to land titles and it gets thrown back and you didn't do it right. So we're doing the process the other way. We're checking with them first.
So when that gets done, then there's a process.
Then we will do an agreement with the
With the-
county for that land, because they need to
For
do a
the-
lease agreement.
The commission, yeah,
Yes.
even if it's $1 a year or whatever.
Yeah. Either way, then you'll have an agreement that you're gonna be working on. And you can tell me the conditions you want in those agreements. Okay? So that is that, what else? Working on the budget stuff, looking at all the numbered increases that we're dealing with, which is getting very interesting. So in consideration of lots of stuff, and this is why we really want to be very careful, postage has increased 25%. So the more we could do online and stuff like that would be great. The bulk water increase is 2.5%, fuel increase as of April 1st will be about 21 cents per liter. I'm trying to figure out how that's gonna affect budgets. Payroll increases and deductions, another 2%. We haven't got the full power bills yet to see what that change is for the new year, so we'll figure out the changes from previous January to this January will tell us where are we sitting on that. Yeah, other than that, continually working on the RPP, which is the recycle. Oh, what do you call it? HSP, community registration applications for the. What do they call it again?
EPR.
EPR, yeah.
So there is a meeting scheduled with ARMA.
I have to,
Right.
just waiting to hear from John, what day is gonna work best with him, and then the lady that I had talked to was, I think her name was Diane.
Okay.
From Alberta Recycle, and she said she'd walk through all this stuff with us, because we wanna get the registration done prior to the March deadline. I'd rather get it done right away, because I got other stuff that's popping up, like the grant reporting and all that stuff.
Are
once
we
get
doing
the-
it separate from the Waste Commission? Because that is not part of the Waste Commission, is it? The cardboard and the recycling?
No.
It's
that-
just the garbage.
That's
Okay.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
so.
It's the single use things that I presented in my last
Yes.
report. That I need to figure out how this works, and she said we need to get our applications in.
Yeah. So we have to do a separate one from what they're doing.
Yes. Yeah. But I wanna make sure that we're in sync on how do we get any money back if we can, cause that'll help us in budgets too.
Well, I believe and that they'll come up with something similar to this, but as long as it's a packaging material, it'll be covered under EPR. So your cardboard,
Yes.
your mixed plastics, your newspaper, white paper, if we get a bin like what's at Erskine and others,
Yeah.
that would be covered by them. But you still have to negotiate and they have to accept your costs.
Yes,
So we would set it up, say, this is our cost, and then they would say, we accept that, we will pay for that. Or they say, no, that's too Cadillac, we're gonna, because of the way you're set up, you don't need all those services. It's 15 kilometers away, you can use our skins, or something like that.
Yeah.
They come back and say, they have their set criteria on distances that they expect residents to go to do this. So they would look at ours and probably say, that's pretty basic, we will cover that, so
I'm
I want to be
hoping,
involved with that.
That'd be a bonus.
I'm very
Yes.
involved in that on a provincial level, so I'd like to kind of,
yeah, so I'm gonna get that scheduled and then I'll let you know the date and the time that we've got with her and. So we can walk through that, but I've got the registration forms, been working on them to make sure I'm ready for that. And anything that could be cost savings for the budget, because in the one that was passed, 2024, it is 2025's budget is a proposed 4%. If we can maintain or get it under, I think that would be great. I have no guarantees till we review all the other requests that have come in.
Until you put your plan together, they won't respond to you.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
so, yeah. So that's it for me. I'm just continually working on lots of year-end stuff and lots of reporting.
Okey doke. Thank you. I'll move the acceptance.
Okay.
All in favor? Financials,
As you can see, as of December 31st, now remember, there are certain bills that come in January that are for December.
There's a
Wow.
large chunk that I updated for this package.
So we are still on, I would say we are close to the budget.
So can we ask questions on this?
Sure.
yeah.
So the variances are what I look at. Is
Yes.
why are we off by this? And so policing bylaw, okay, I kind of understand that a little bit.
Yep.
Transportation going up 30%, what's that?
Transportation is, well, yeah, we had some extra graveling we did, our grading.
The trees,
The trees,
that's part of it.
that's part of it.
Mulching and all that we did?
No,
No.
that would be more in the parks. and
There,
Rec,
after the budget was approved, then there was reallocating of funds because council made a resolution that they wanted trees and a tree committee, and so we had to take funds that were actually allocated for something else, we had to move them over. Which then means that we had to cut back somewhere else. Cause that's kind of what we do is we rejig,
Yeah, for sure,
yeah.
but yeah,
And then we did have the new person started January 1st, when we were working towards the changeover to get a better staffing requirements in place that would fulfill some more needs that we have. So we had a bit of overlap there. And then we moved into the summer busy season. And then the tree planting, that was another one. But now we're down to back where we were, one full-time staff member.
So, I guess part of my confusion is understanding what rolls up into transportation, like, if that is tree planting, I wouldn't have thought that would be part of.
Well,
But is there a
some-
guidance of something that,
Water, so there's the water wagon, so that kind of some of it, not all of it was put into transportation. Because we use it for the roads as well too, as they were watering the roads at times.
okay,
So not all of the expenses were of that wagon are in transportation, part of it is. And others was
Allocations
Tools.
were a real bad situation. We don't have the right allocation set up and how we actually do our services. And that is where things get lumped in and they shouldn't be. So
so does
we
that
need to
mean we have
provide-
better clear definitions of what each of these includes?
We need to break these into better services than just transportation means what? Cause before, we didn't even have recreation, parks, or culture, that's the hall. There was never a budget line number for it. But there
And
has to be,
transportation included a lot of wages too,
yes,
and
From road maintenance, road clearing, snow removal.
Yes.
Lawn mowing, all of that.
So
It's
now
just-
we started this. Where was the summer students I started?
Yes.
Or even a little bit earlier than that. I started having summer students and public works staff to, how many hours were you working on road stuff? How many hours were you working on Parks and Rec, and how many hours for like the hall? So that's the take it or leave a shed that is going in and doing stuff in the hall, things like that, so
Yeah.
that's better. Figured out and calculated before, cause in the past, like when I first started at White Sands, it was like 50% is in park, 50% is in transportation, and that's how it was.
That's almost how it's been.
But now
So
we made
now
it more,
we're-
so now it's reflecting your numbers better.
Yeah, but then when you're talking about summer maintenance and winter maintenance, like there's these different things, like it is transportation when you're cutting along the ditches.
Yeah.
With the lawn
So
mowers,
is it
right?
just a 30% increase because you've redefined things?
A
Or
little
was
bit
there
of some of
thirty
that,
percent?
a little bit of that, and then other things was like, maintenance of the tractor. So
Yeah,
it
we
hasn't
had
been
to.
maintenance in a long time, so like. We got it cheaper, cause Dustin could do it. Instead of having either take the truck to Brandt, John Deere, or have someone come out here and service it. So we saved quite a bit there, but there's still, you know, your parts, your oil, transmission fluids.
Costs that weren't calculated properly.
Yeah,
That we didn't have that definition because nobody was reviewing that stuff to tell us, all of a sudden it would just pop up. Tractor needs a repair.
we've got better making more GLs where they go into, so in transportation, there's like a bunch of GL numbers. That I will code things into when I get the bills and stuff.
And Lori's been really helping us because it's too general for what we do. We need to have it better defined so that it starts breaking better the services we do.
I agree, and I think, well, to my mind, and this is just, you know, when I think of transportation, I think of like shipping something from there to here sort of thing. Whereas we're talking about maintenance of the roads. I mean,
Roads, grading,
Gravel.
snow removal, applying gravel.
Sanding chips goes in
Sanding
there.
chips goes into that. Yeah,
but yeah, maybe it should be called road maintenance rather than transportation in my mind, sort of thing.
yes, yes.
Transportation is what we paid to get
I
this,
think that's
this
just
thing out,
the general,
Take care
and
of
just
it.
you have different things under transportation, like
yeah.
there'd be goods and services, there's wages, there's benefits. There's purchase of equipment parts is purchasing of what's the word I'm looking for, like we go take a tire.
Contractors.
Contractors,
yeah.
when you go take the truck in to get a service or need to be done, then that's another thing, so they're like.
There's a lot of categories underneath this that you guys will see when we pull the budgets out.
Yeah.
Right now, transportation, you're right, that's just the general term that every municipality's used is under transportation, under parks and rec. Do we need to make it better fit for Summer Village? Yes, and I think in conversations with ASVA and other CAOs, we're trying to gather more of this information, which we've set up with ASVA, which I forgot to put in my report. There's gonna be gathering the CAOs to have a open forum discussion on different items that of our interest and who's doing what and what's worked and what hasn't. So we're opening up those things, which is new this year.
So are these things entirely built within our constructs of what we want for categories, like is Summer Village, or is this kind of defined that,
This
you
is
know?
what we were inherited with and we're trying to redefine to
Probably a
fit.
QuickBooks thing as opposed to anything.
Okay,
Cause if you flip to the next page, it says Parks and Rec playground equipment. Well,
Those
there
are
is no
capital,
Parks
yeah.
and Rec above.
That's
So
right.
we need, so where does all these expenditures, where are they captured? We don't know.
Yeah.
What is culture? I don't know. So we need a better, maybe better category.
I'm just
categories.
trying to bring up, the state of Wyndham to see, like, I can give you better, I'm just trying to pull up the right stuff here, for the report.
You know, that second page on the expenditure page, you know, revenues and expenditures, that actually does a better job of breaking those things down.
right, but that's just
Yes,
capital
and that's the
revenue,
capital,
not-
that's and that's where we need to get this better, but again. This has been, when we took over, this all came from Town of Stettler, so of course it's bigger.
Yeah.
And these are easy categories for them, but I'm finding it doesn't quite always fit for us.
Okay,
I think it's worthwhile knowing, or worth, you know, that we're spending this much on
Yeah.
snow removal and, you know, dust control and some of those things on the roads. I would,
So-
you know, I think that's
A
important.
prime example would be your budget for contractor services and transportation was $3,000, but it actually got spent this year was 11,600.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
and then a breakdown of where that is. Are we spending more money on, you know, mowing grass around the playgrounds or?
Which actually, for our next meeting,
mhm.
do a resolution, which items of these do you want us to give you an expanded? Cause we
Well-
can do that,
The next
but,
one you'll have.
and this would help you with some of the stuff we're talking about, so you could get to see, like, we can pull transportation, give you that whole section.
Well, you can, or you can pull the whole.
Parks and Rec, and it'll give you the breakdown of where things went. And that is a really good thing. That you can tell us, okay, we want to see the breakdown for transportation. And we wanna see the breakdown for culture. Parks and Rec is under, culture's higher than what you thought, that'd be a good one to ask us to give you a breakdown on.
And a lot of it would be, you know, the big things,
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
the
rec-
ones that have
rec-
significant impact.
requisitions, I don't really know what that means, but that's like 300.
requisitions is your.
Parkland.
Parkland, your
Okay.
School.
school,
Senior
your
housing.
senior housing, your water.
Well, that might be nice to kind of see, so we
Yeah.
can really understand what are the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
And
money we send to the province, basically,
Provinces, you're partnering,
and
collaboration.
organizations.
Yes,
Yeah.
and general administration would be us all around here, right?
general administration is us.
And where is the
And we-
maintenance
we-
coming
You
from?
guys are council and legislative.
That's above, yeah.
Okay, there we go, okay.
Yeah, general administration is everything that kind of comes through here and any additional things that may have fallen into
Okay,
legal costs, things like that.
Well, just go down the list from the top and say which ones you guys wanna.
Yeah, we'll give you
See.
expanded on
Well,
those.
I said there is a report.
Yeah, we
that-
can
I
pull that
can-
report.
I could pull that report and it will bring all the GLs.
Sure.
Do you want us to, for the next
I'd
meeting,
say-
give an expanded report for the end of the
Yes.
year?
Yeah, because that'll help with the budgeting.
It does, because then it gets you, and because your session tomorrow is gonna help out too, because then it'll give you the directions that you're.
So pull the actuals versus budget variance.
Not,
Report.
no, the actual definitions of what's captured under each one.
So my reporting, that's what it's called.
Okay,
That's so just
Yeah.
pull that report, then go back to my minutes.
She pulls it for me every year.
Yeah, so, yes.
And I don't know if you know Lori Tate, but she was administrator or office manager of Town of Stepford for years and she retired. But she also used to do our
okay,
stuff when we were.
She works with us and
So
helps
now
us
she
with.
works with us
okay.
part-time. And he's invaluable.
Yeah, me and her will be working on the grant reporting next because we pulled all that stuff. So yeah, it just helps. And then when the auditors come in, Aaron and her will work with the auditors.
and then on the following page, I just had a question on the capital revenue. So, you know, were a lot of things on here that end up having zero expenditures for the year. So those are just projects that we thought we were gonna do a year ago that just, for whatever
Happens.
reason, we can talk more about it, just never happened.
That's right.
Exactly, and they're not all in quite yet either, some of them.
Yeah, like the vehicle,
Yeah,
we didn't proceed with it this year. It kind of got complicated with everything going on, but we do need, it has approval. It does have a grant. But we'll talk about that in your capital budget, or
Okay.
just move it.
Okay,
So there is allocated funds for it.
okay.
So,
And-
oh, sorry.
You know, for when we're setting the 2025 budget. You know, we haven't really had any discussions yet about, you know, some of these capital things we might want to do next
Yeah,
year.
like dust control needs to be on the radar. Gravel needs to be on the radar.
Yeah,
And these
because
are huge.
dust control has to be ordered pretty quick.
But that's not a capital item. Those are.
It's under,
Dust control is not covered under the grants, which is
it
becoming
still
a
has to be
problem.
ordered
Yes.
probably April, March.
We need to order it in March,
Yeah.
but we need to know if that's. I have the measurements and stuff, but is dust control going to be an allocated, yes, project? That you
Yeah.
guys wanna get completed in your budget?
Okay.
Well, like last year it was allocated but not used. So
We tried and we got
15,000
rejected.
and zero.
We tried to get it under the grant, we got rejected.
Okay,
That's, some of this stuff is because we tried to get the funds under the grants. So that if it's under the grants, then,
there's no impact or this.
right, but,
Who wanted the expanded, I said, so this one made for the motion for the next, the report for next one. To have administration bring an expanded GL budget and actual report, and then have quotes, or not quotes, parentheses, actual versus budget variance report. For the next regular council meeting on February 12, 2025.
yeah.
Who wants to put their name on that? Mayor?
So some of this
In
stuff
favor, yep.
in that, the expenditure stuff. And under this capital, like vegetation management. We used a lot, actually. That's in our other budget, because you can't get the grant covered. Some of these things we were trying to get the grants to cover. And we did not get it.
And that vegetation removal is expensive.
But we still took money out of our budgets, and it's in the budgets, and we spent money on.
So would that have been thrown into transportation on?
Yeah, like when we.
And that's
did
where your
some of
transportation went
Yeah,
up.
so that's where it's
That's a big,
not really transportation, well, maybe it is, but we need to see if it's in the right column
yeah,
for
Right,
sure.
yeah,
dealing with your roads and with visibility and spots, so.
And it
Yeah.
might be, but if you clear the fire lanes, is that, That's
and
different.
Yeah, we didn't do that this
So-
year, did we?
you know, I'd
yes,
say,
we did, we
Oh.
rented a piece of equipment,
A
so
mulcher,
again,
yeah.
those are equipment rentals, so some of those things went out of whack because we had to. We don't have the proper stuff, so there's a cost to whatever we're gonna do and how we're gonna deal with it.
but should that be captured under, you know, contract or rental work, or should it be also captured or kind of at least inform us that it's under fire lane maintenance?
Exactly, under
Because
the
that's,
fire.
that to me is more important to know that that's what it costs to maintain those fire lanes.
Yes,
As opposed to, well, we hired some outside contractors, that doesn't give me a lot of information.
exactly, no, and that's where I'm noticing as we've been moving forward. That we have to bring it more in line to what our services are.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one, on capital revenue and transfer drawn from capital reserve, was that for the roof, that 3,000? Do you remember?
Which one?
I'm seeing
No,
6,000.
6,000, and that was because you authorized it for the hall.
No, this is 920, just on,
Yeah, it says 6 under mine.
Yeah. Revenue expenditure,
Yeah, Camalcha Community Hall, that was when you guys gave them that money to repaint the hall and do all that stuff. That was what they asked you guys for last year.
oh, okay.
Remember they came in
Culture
and,
Community Hall, 610, yeah.
yeah, and then we said that had to be a transfer from reserves.
Well, this one is 3,000, I thought that was.
The roof was an
The
additional,
Actual was 2,600.
yes, but we didn't have, that was unbudgeted for that roof when we had the leak.
Well, that's what those, are from, reserves are for.
Yeah.
And that's, we can't forget about the reserve in the budget time.
That's right. Well, we also have to make sure that we're balancing this stuff, so we have that little bit. Gotta make sure we create a balanced budget, but we have that little allocation that in case of an emergency.
Okay, someone gonna move the financials?
10.1 to 10.2 of financial reports is presented,
Sure.
anything I said?
All in favor?
Big Jack.
Okay, correspondence, Big Jack Classic request for funding. Began last year.
Nope, and we're right now operating on an interim, so if, for whatever you do, it has to be in a resolution. And it would have to come out of what funding? And it'll be, because you don't have any,
I don't have donation.
we don't have a donation policy that kind of sets a budget number of what you're actually gonna authorize, because this may be one request, you could get more requests. And you need to have a budget number.
It's nice to support a local event like this, but White Sands doesn't necessarily get any direct benefit from this event being held
On this lake.
on this lake. So I mean, we want to be good neighbors, but at the same time, it's not like, we're a restaurant or a bar that's getting business out of it.
And is there other ways of showing White Sands support that?
Well, they are
doesn't-
doing chocolate and whatever at the hole.
Yeah.
And they were talking about asking, and I don't know if they did, but they were talking about asking for a fire pit or something, weren't they? A warm-up place?
I didn't hear that. Andrew said there, the Hall and Rec was helping out in some way or
So
another.
maybe the Hall Society is handling that end of it, but the majority is based at Roshan. That's where the party is, that's where the registration is, that's where the evening supper thing or whatever, I believe, is all over there.
So are they even using our hall?
They are using it, I believe, for they did last year, warm up in Chile or.
And Andrew, when I
They
talked
didn't
to
do
her
it
earlier,
here,
yes,
they
they
did
did
it
it
there.
there.
No, they did something.
They did something here last year too.
Or did they just cook what here?
They just cooked here last year. It was the year before, and it was done by the CAO and you guys.
Well, I didn't do it. I didn't help.
Yeah.
They asked, I don't know, have they asked us anything other than sponsorship? I
Thought
don't know.
Andrea said they weren't doing anything at the hall here this year, but
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Was there something in the email that just came out from the Hall Society on that yesterday? Stay tuned for these events in February. The third annual Big Jack Classic. Sign up for fishing. Roshan Community Hall to visit with their neighbors. They're putting together a great weekend. Will be working at the concession stand, so come on by and
There we
say
go.
hi.
So it's over there.
So it's everything's down.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Sounds to me like if it's a special resolution and all that, maybe in this
I
case.
say we don't. Yeah. We don't need to even make a motion on that. That's for information, but
okay,
really.
Brownlee Emerging Trends, so I registered for Calgary. So that's and you guys are going,
Well,
or you would have to go to Edmonton, didn't you?
I'm not available that Calgary date, and I do have a commitment in Calgary the Wednesday, the 12th. I could attend it virtually. And I'm available to do it. I was looking at this stuff on it and thinking, is it how good do we think, like how important do we really
Yeah,
think this is? I can certainly attend virtually, but I think attending in person is probably not gonna work at this point.
Okay.
And then. Remember, you're having your training sessions with municipal affairs right now, and then there's an election again. Is
Yeah.
this maybe something you wanna consider for the next year instead of this year?
I like Paul looked at I thought it was a good idea, and then I looked at the actual topics and I went, yeah, how much do we get involved with procurement and tendering, and how much do we get involved in, hire letters and termination, case law, like, I just looked at it and went, it's probably geared to a larger municipality for the most
Right.
part. So I won't be going.
And I didn't see the
topics.
the agenda before
Yeah, I looked at it and I went,
I could maybe cancel it.
Well, I.
Might not be bad to have one of us go, but we don't maybe all.
But is there
You know.
new schools?
I'm not too worried about it. I
Tendering,
thought
you know,
I would push after we get budgets done. I wanna go to LGAA this time.
What's
Local
LG?
gov- Local Government Administrators Association Conference,
Okay.
cause I feel that's where I get to meet with other CAOs and we talk about a lot of the different things. And new case, we get some of this stuff created by Brownlee LLP, they do presentations to us anyway.
yeah, no, I'm not going.
Okay, and I think I'll do the same thing, I'll decline, you save our budget dollars for something that's
Yeah.
more
That's kind of,
clearly directly applicable.
yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
And then, yeah.
Lauren, you can, what are your thoughts?
Just looking here, managing municipal lands.
That's about the only one that's of. You know,
Yeah, well, I'll see if I can get out of it and if not.
Well, it might be good for one person to go,
Bring back the information.
bring back the information.
Alright, well, it's. Make a decision. Okay, so that's it.
Moved by whoever to accept items.
Anybody got closed meeting? No.
11.1 to 11.2 correspondence.
You didn't do a resolution, or you didn't tell us what you wanted, because it has to be clear, because we're gonna get ourselves in hot water. We don't lay out exactly what that topic is, and then the section
which?
point. To go in camera.
Oh, yeah.
Or in
Yeah.
closed session.
Yeah, that has to be done in addition to the agenda.
Right.
And then
Addition or
what it
prior.
is, or-
Yeah.
We don't need anything. No.
Well, I could say a lot of things.
Yeah.
We can just end this meeting, you can talk all you
Oh,
want.
we're done enough here.
Mayor Thurston accept items 11.1 to 11.2 as a correspondence as information.
All in favor, yep.
And who wants to move to adjourn the meeting at 12:49?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Thank you to all who
At
attended.
least it's not 2 in the afternoon, but it's
You
then.
got it
Yeah,
done.
close.
It's just.
Hold on.
Well, hold on, well, I can